Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Curse of Strahd Twice Bitten, the show where 5 DMs take on D&D's top Gothic horror campaign. As always, I'm Dragnacarta, your host and DM, and I don't think we have much to talk about this week, do we?
I am excited to go and do some adventuring, like proper adventurers that we're not.
It's gonna be beautiful.
Yeah, it'll be a fun time.
There's gonna be a dragon and dungeon.
Oh my! At once? Oh my god!
Just excited to meet my gay dads.
Oh, same. Always.
Beautiful. All right, well, I will not keep you from them any longer, so let's get started with Curse of Strahd Twice Bitten. And welcome back. So, last we left off on Twice Bitten. Upon receiving a request from Vallaki's new Baroness, Lady Fiona Voctor, the companions agreed to investigate the source of recent vampiric killings that had seen several townsfolk dead. To begin their efforts, Metreon and Amity ventured to meet Milivoy, a potential witness and the groundskeeper of St. Andrew's Church, but faced a horrible surprise when a vampire appeared in the night, turning the hunters into the hunted. Luckily, with Kiva leading the others to assist, the companions chased the vampire to an abandoned shack in Vallaki's alleyways, revealing its true identity as Father Lucian, the former priest of St. Andrew's Church. Kiva swiftly dispatched it with the Sunsword, but Metreon, who had been close with Father Lucian before his death, struggled to overcome his grief. Meanwhile, that very same night, Lillison slipped away from the others to meet with Strahd, who had sought her out for an offer. There, Strahd offered her the secret of vampirism, suggesting that he sought an advisor, and perhaps a successor, that he could view worthy of his blessing. Lillison agreed to file routine reports on her companion's movements with Strahd's servants in exchange for both future communications on the topic and Strahd's promise to deliver her a gift of good faith that Lillison could select at a future date. Upon returning to the Blue Water Inn, Lillison faced fierce suspicion and interrogation from her companions. In response, she revealed the nature of her visit to Strahd, declaring her own mistrust of the vampire's motives. Though some were reluctant, the group agreed that the best path forward involved Lillison making her reports as expected, but coloring the information, holding some back, and providing some unlikely pieces to suit the party's needs. To avoid Strahd's suspicion, the companions devised a scheme in which Lillison would be loudly accused of currying favor with Fiona Voctor in an attempted view of disloyalty. After becoming satisfied that executing their plan had worked, Lillison stepped upstairs to the top floor of the Blue Water Inn and issued her first report to Strahd's minion outside. Satisfied with the events of the evening and preparing themselves for a new day in the morning, the companions settled in to rest in their cramped quarters. As the Mardikovs around them settled into their own chambers of the inn, the party members prepared themselves for the day to come and the new ventures that they would encounter in the morning hours. And so, Metreon, as you take your rest in the cramped quarters of the Blue Water Inn, you find yourself slowly falling into the darkness of sleep. You're not sure the exact moment when you cross the veil between wakeness and unconsciousness, except that you feel yourself taking a sharp breath, your eyes flickering open, and find yourself standing on the simple stone platform amidst a familiar, empty void. You hear a faint whispering in the darkness from all around you, and then the shadows seem to twist and contort and form into a silhouette now familiar to you, opposite the platform, facing toward you. "Well then," says the wounded one, "I await your report eagerly. But then again, it has been some time since we have last spoken. So perhaps you shall not have disappointed me this time, hmm? Perhaps, in some manner of speaking, we might see some progress, perhaps."
Metreon. Go on.
There's a pause as you feel the entity beneath the cloaked hood gazing toward you expectantly.
Metreon bristles a bit and, looking at the silhouette, tilts his head in obedience before turning up. I think I got everything right. So she said that when she was, well, I guess when she was dead, it was all dark, and she just heard these voices that was asking her to consent to something. She didn't know what though, and but when she did say yes, they all was overjoyed.
Interesting. Voices in the dark then, and they requested her will. It was not something that was forced upon her.
No.
Intriguing. That is all then. There is no more that she had to share?
No, that's it.
And you are quite confident that there is no more to be gleaned from this one then?
I am. Yeah, I held my end of the deal.
Good. Then you have done well. Or at least, as well as can be expected.
The fuck is that supposed to mean?
It means that it is a pity that there is no way to make further use of you.
The fuck are you talking about? Who the fuck are you?
Who am I? I am your better boy. I have seen kingdoms rise and fall. I have seen the death of gods. You are little more than an ant, boy. You, well,
So
you are a string dangling in the breeze.
So, what next then, huh? What comes after this?
What next?
I did what you asked me to. How are you? Undying King, is that what you're supposed to be called?
The figure tilts its head toward you, and you feel the sense of your very sense of self being weighed very critically for a moment, sending shudders down your spine. Well, what happens next? is that all loose ends be tied together. After all, you've proven too incompetent to be trusted with greater tasks, and, well, one makes investments, but such investments must one day be withdrawn.
I did what you asked me to, though.
You did, and you have given me great value. You should be honored at the glory of assisting one so much greater than yourself, boy.
Mitron spits at him, just not even recognizing that this may just be an ethereal figure, but just spits.
You spit through the air, and the figure instantly holds up a hand, and the saliva halts in the air, floating there, just faintly bobbing up and down, as if all of its momentum has been arrested for an instant.
We had a fucking deal.
So we did. You wanted power. I gave you power.
I wanted a way out.
And I gave you one. It is of no concern to me that you are unable to use it in a timely fashion. Goodbye. Punch. And you watch as a wind dark begins to howl in the air behind it, as the wounded one slowly begins to lift into the air above your head. You watch as the dark-cloaked finger's arms spread wide on either side, the cloak rippling as if beneath a sourceless wind. You feel another cold shudder down the back of your spine, and from behind the wounded one you see a seam, a white line splitting in the reality of the dark void. And then slowly as it opens, you see behind the wounded one, manifesting in the darkness, a great hand of rotting green flesh and long, spindly fingers, the palm facing away from you into the darkness. You see arcane sigils inscribed in silver across its bony flesh in long, elegant script, reminiscent of the tattoos across your body, but in far greater intricacy. Then there is a seam, a flap of flesh across the center of the back of the hand that slowly begins to open. Be grateful, for your spiritual essence shall one day fuel my release from these accursed mists. You watch as a bloated eyeball emerges, embedded from its place at the hand's center, milky white veins and cataracts twitching and bulging across its surface, its dark amber iris staring deep into your eyes and soul. You feel as your form begins to twist and sear with pain, your edges blurring like shadows as you feel something at your core beginning to rip and tear away from you. The eye continues staring toward you, pitiless, merciless. You feel suddenly the strength go out of you as you collapse to one knee, then a second. And you hear that terrible, ruthless voice cruelly ringing out in the darkness as your vision begins to blur. Goodbye, and be grateful. There is a pause, and then you hear a second voice, a man's, replying, No, he is not yours to take.
Metreon, hearing this voice, looks around. Does he see the source of it?
You blink, your vision blurring, and then slowly looking up before you, you see interposed between you and the horrible, twisted form of the hand and eye, a man's figure, the silhouette blurred from the harsh radiance of the terrible, bulging cataracts before you. The man appears unafraid as he stands before you holding an item up toward the hand that blazes with golden radiance. His clothes are simple, but of a reverence to them. You see white robes and vestments, and a familiar golden stole worked with scarlet thread falling over his shoulders. Suddenly, from behind you, blazes a nova of radiant white light beautiful and blinding like the sun, and the wounded one snarls with a hiss. You dare interfere! I have mocked him as mine! He is mine to take! And you hear the man's voice echo in the void. You have mocked him, but he has not given himself fully yet. Begone, shade, and return to your prison. There's a howl of rage, a curse that reverberates through the void. And then the terrible eye blinks. The wounded one twisting like darkness and spiraling shadow, the eye suddenly closing as the hand twists and vanishes into the void. And then, for a moment, there is quiet. And you feel the great pressure upon your limbs and body lift.
Is it still dark?
You can see in the front of you the darkness of the void extending from, but all around where you now stand, illuminating both your own form and the man before you, there's just a beautiful white radiance that has cast a soft luminosity across the platform where you stand.
Metreon looks up at it, shielding his eyes a bit, given how bright it is and how little sun he's been exposed to. Thank you, I think.
The man turns to face you and then slowly gets down on one knee to put a hand on your shoulder. You've had a long day, I think. It is good to see you again, Metreon. And you see the tired creases of the man's forehead, the kindness of his eyes, the silver of his hair. And you see Father Lucian smiling softly toward you.
Metreon slowly drops his hand as this figure that he recognizes comes into view, and when he says that, his mouth is open and slack, and his eyes can't help but keep looking into his, and he bends down a bit. Is it? I'm so sorry.
Hush, it's not your fault. Life is full of small darknesses that lurk in the corner of our eyes, and sometimes we can't quite save all that we can, but we can do what we can. Do you understand?
I'm trying. I really am. But I don't think I got a grasp of it yet.
None of us have all the answers, believe me. I certainly didn't. It's not something that one grasps so easily, I suppose. It's more a matter of doing what best you can for those you can do it for. And sometimes it won't be all that you sought. But the important thing is trying. And from where I stand, and he kind of puts a hand on your cheek and just nods with a gentle fatherly smile. I think you're well on your path to trying.
Metreon lets his hand hang there on his cheek. And as opposed to the usual blubbering that he goes through, he's uncharacteristically composed right now, in a way. There are some tears kind of very gently falling from his eyes, but he can't help but smile a bit, looking up at him. What's it like? Did you feel yourself down there? I mean, we killed you twice. Well,
No, you did not kill me at all. When I died, it was by the hands of a devil, of a man who had chosen demonic paths, of a creature of shadow. It was not by your hand that I died. It was by the choices of another. And I thank you with all my heart for doing what you could on my behalf, even when I was gone. And in case it harms your soul to consider what happened to me afterward, when one is turned, well, perhaps beginning earlier, when one lives, the soul and the body are bound as tightly as they can be. They are one, they are a single whole. But when I awoke, when my body awoke, in the earth and the blood, that bond was so much more tenuous. For you see, when one lives, the soul and the body are one, but in the cursed realm that this devil dwells in, there is a connection, yes, enough to keep one from proceeding, but there is a darkness, there is a weakness. I could see what I did, but as for what made those choices, he smiles and shakes his head. You did me no harm, Metreon. You set me free.
At that, his body does a full shudder, and now he begins to blubber, and falls to both knees. I was just trying to get out, and then I didn't expect any of this. I don't know what to do now.
I understand. I know that, well, you've had a long and confusing time of it, and from what you've told me, a long and confusing experience before you ever passed through these mists. I truly am sorry, my son, that you've had to endure such things. One could say that it is the way of the world, but that does not make the weight any less to bear. But nonetheless, whatever you choose to do, I want you to know that so long as you act in ways that free others instead of imprison them, so long as your actions bring joy instead of fear, from the look of an outlooker, perhaps not all stories have happy endings, but the way I see it, that is the only happy ending that one could possibly be happy with. I cannot tell you exactly what you must do, though of course there are conversations to be had before we depart. But all I can say is, well, he closes his eyes. If ever you're confused about what to do next, who you are or who you want to be, I want you to know that when you cared for Yeska, my heart was fuller than I ever could have dreamed.
It's the least I could do.
Sometimes the least that we can do is also the best of us. Good and fighting that good fight does not need to be grand gestures all the time. It can be something as simple as giving a child a token of remembrance. It could be something as simple as reminding oneself of the path that he means to walk. It could be something as simple as freeing another soul of a prison of torment. And unfortunately, there are many souls tormented in a way that they cannot escape.
I don't. It's just some kind of way. I want to. I see the people here, the ones that I met. There's good people, for the most part. I never felt it. I ain't never felt it before I got here, but I don't want them to suffer, and I don't want to suffer, obviously. You know, I am scared to face him. I know what kind of power he has, what he can do. And I'm trying to be brave. I really am. I just need some help.
He smiles and squeezes your shoulder. Of course. None of us can do what we can in this world without the help of others. And I understand. It is good that you seek to protect your friends. And I understand completely. You seek to avoid suffering for your own, so long as it is tempered, I hope, by the desire to ensure that your companions, your loved ones, that innocents around you can continue in their own way. And if it is help that you seek, well, there are powers other than those that sought to consume and imprison you this day.
What do I do now? He was feeding me stuff, magic, and I never felt anything like it before. It was dark and cold, but it helped when it needed to. And I felt so dirty just being owned by him. I don't want to feel like that anymore. I don't want to feel like that with him, with Strahd, with nobody.
And you will not have to. When we act, we understand that others might not do as we wish, but we do what we can to help them so that we may all join together and create a better whole than we could apart. And if that is the path you wish to continue to walk, if that is what you wish to do, to aid others, to do good, to keep those you love safe, then there is one who I believe might be willing to help.
Who?
He smiles gently. Why, the one who saved you, of course.
Metreon looks around, kind of confused, not sure if he's being literal or just metaphorical.
Father Lucian chuckles and then gives you a look. My boy, I know that looks may be deceiving, but allow me to clarify. For I am not the one who saved you. She did. And you feel the white radiance brightening around you, and you hear the quiet flapping of feathered wings behind you.
He looks up, and to the sound of the flapping wings,
you see behind you, hovering above the edge of the platform, a woman, tall and broad-shouldered. It takes a moment for you to realize the scale of her, but she easily exceeds more than twice your height, and her gaze is steely, her posture forceful, but at once kind as well. Her skin's shade is an earthy red, her hair dark and extending far past her shoulders. She wears a white robe that ends just below the hem of her gold-wrought boots, and shoulder plates of forged gold, but which burn with a radiance that make clear that they are no mere soft mortal's metal. Her wrists and forearms bear golden braces of the same fine material, and in her hand she wields a greatsword, wrought of purest platinum, in its hilt resting a diamond that blazes with white light. Behind her stretch two enormous wings of pure white feathers, her eyes pure white lights with neither iris nor pupil to them. She looks down toward you, meeting your eyes. A faint but steely smile upon her lips. I am Kalkdra, and I have come because the Lord of the Rotted Tower does not know the value of that which he was prepared to discard. This one speaks highly of you, and she gestures toward Father Lucian. And so I have come, seeking your aid, freely given.
What do you need help with?
There are those within this domain that we wish to free from their prison in which they dwell. For this purpose, we seek, well, many things. The return of Sanael to Elysium and the excision of the poison from his essence, the freedom of two souls that have suffered apart for long enough. But there are limits to the bounds of our intercession. The host of Elysium cannot move openly through these misted domains or risk the notice of the powers that rule here. Investitures of power, however, can be made. Do you understand?
I think I do, yeah.
She inclines her head. Understand that I do not wish to bind you. I understand that what you have experienced here might color your impressions. But understand that I am here only to invest in you the might that we require to see our ends wrought in these accursed lands.
I just... When Ismark and Alrina, they saw the sun sword, when they saw the light, I saw how they was reacting and how much that piece of shit keeps it from him.
She nods. Well then, if you are amenable to such an investiture, know this. For our purposes, the mists that bind must be withdrawn. Yet this can be done only to the demise of the one who is bound beneath them above all others. I cannot compel you. It is not my nature to do so. But, as others have vouched, you seem to be one within which others can have faith. So, Metrion, will you accept this task?
He looks back at Father Lucian before saying anything, trying to just take him in, but also to look at his expression to see if he's encouraging or warm or anything like that. But seeing him, he'll turn back up to this figure, and he'll look them in the eyes, and he very gently nods, like a awestruck child. Yeah. If I can help, I can. I will.
Kalkadra smiles and reaches a hand forward toward you, and as it hovers a few inches away from your chest, she pauses and says, "Before this bestowal is made, know this. The Undying King's power may be withdrawn from you, but his marks are beyond my power to remove. He is neither a forgiving master nor gracious in defeat. Be warned that should you ever return to the worlds of the mists, when your task is complete, his slaves may yet pursue you. Be warned, Metreon, and be ready.
I'll be as ready as I can, then.
She nods, and with that reaches forward and touches a hand to your chest. At once, you watch as her fingers blaze with a golden radiance, the tongues of fire spreading across you, burning around your clothes and your skin, coating your hands and torso like fire, but you realize that it doesn't burn. The flames dance, but there is no heat. And as they grow brilliant, brighter, somehow more beautiful, you feel something deep within you, a light like a candle, and then begin to grow, joyously fed with this touch of divine radiance until you feel your heart and soul soar with song. And then you feel a hand on your shoulder once more. And you hear Father Lucian's voice. Before you go, if there is one thing that I've learned, is that there is always more work to be done. It may be hard and it may be thankless, but it is never forgotten. So when you go, my son, forget the work of angels, the work of demons. Walk in faith, walk in courage, walk in light, and always ask yourself, what is your work? And how may you see it done? And with that, Kalkadra slowly pulls her hand back, and you feel the touch on your shoulder begin to dissolve into mist, and you fall. The void, the platform, and the light vanishing, receding, until there are only the merest twinkles of divine radiance that remain, and you descend not into darkness, but into peaceful, dreamless sleep. Elsewhere, in a place far away and yet so close as well. As Metreon sleeps peacefully, to anyone who might watch him, tiny sparks of golden light dancing beneath his eyelids. Amity, you find yourself standing alone in a vast darkness that extends, seemingly for miles and miles in every direction. And then you blink, and you see, in the far distance away from you, a single place where silvery light that falls from nowhere illuminates a small region upon the ground. What do you do?
Of course, Amity walks towards that silvery region on the ground. Is it a light cast from above?
It does seem to be, though you cannot tell a single source. It falls down as though from a sunbeam, and as you move forward, your steps echoing strangely in the vast darkness, you slowly approach, seeing ultimately beneath the radiance, a circle upon the ground, a dais of silver stone. Moving closer, you see, kneeling upon the dais, a knight, entirely covered in plate armor from head to toe, kneeling with a sword and metal scabbard, placed in a metal scabbard. And as you approach closer, you can see that the hilt bears tiny images of intricately carved dragons worked into the metal. The knight is silent and does not acknowledge your approach.
Amity kneels on the opposite side of the dais and greets the knight. Hello.
The knight does not immediately respond, but you hear a faint grinding as the head turns up toward you.
Amity will wait for him to raise his head, I suppose.
He does so, and you see only darkness beneath the helm, but the knight, whoever they are, does seem to be regarding you.
Were you praying?
You hear a pause for a moment, and then a grating, rasping voice from behind the helm. This is the vigil until the fight begins anew.
What fight?
The fight with the enemy. For outside the fighting, nothing exists but this.
I don't see anything that exists. Is there someone out there you're fighting?
The enemy fights. The enemy seeks victory, but cannot have it. This fight has no victory after all.
So looking around, is there nothing else? Is it like a completely black void, and this light seems to be coming from nowhere?
Looking around, there doesn't appear to be anything else in the darkness. There appears to be only the small dais and the knight kneeling upon it.
Right. Amity's going to kneel along with the knight. Just try to sort of copy his posture. Who's the enemy? Should I be worried?
There is a moment of pause, and then the knight regards you again. The enemy is the one that fights. But fear not, for the enemy shall neither lose it nor find victory. The fight continues. And then the knight's helm grinds as it slowly turns away from you, back to its original position.
All right. This knight doesn't seem to be very talkative. I suppose Amity will stand up and see that perhaps is Truffle following her? Is Truffle behind her, or just her?
Truffle is not present.
Oh, okay. I guess she's going to. Can I take a look at your sword? It looks nice.
The knight doesn't immediately respond. In fact, there are a few uncomfortable moments of silence as the knight continues kneeling face down, the sword held solidly in their gauntlet. And then you hear from around you a hissing voice sounding in the darkness. He can speak no more, for he is bound. Can you not see? The light suddenly flickers, and then you can see emerging from the light dark chains of shadow, flecked with burning embers that bind the knight's limbs and torso. You trace them with your eyes, following them as they twist and writhe in the light, and follow them to a place where they emerge from the knight's own chest. You blink again, and you see those chains extending from beyond him, like tendrils that wrap and writhe through the air, extending to bind, you count 13 shadowed silhouettes behind him.
Who are you? Amity steps backward away from them into the darkness. I'm not involved in your fight. I don't want to be involved.
The hissing voice sounds in the darkness again, and it is not the knight's voice, it is a distinct one, and you can hear it tinged with mourning and loss. I fight only for the ones that have been lost. Watch them, mourn them. You watch as around you the darkness stirs and then, like the tide before a tsunami, suddenly recedes, replaced by a plateau of endless white. Not stone, not marble, it's bone. Washed out bones of men mixed with the skulls of horses, interspersed, you see in places with ancient arrows and rusted swords and shields, a terrible ossuary of a battlefield that extends for miles and miles in every direction. And you see, above the bone, rising a tall, dark tower, atop which nests an enormous silver-white silhouette. Reptilian in form, a great maw that opens before you, wings spreading far out on either side of it. The earth rumbles and you hear from the silhouette. His strength yet binds them. Free them! The earth below you begins to tremble and quake, bones splintering and cracking as the ground shifts. And for a moment, as your heart stops, the knight looks up into your eyes, revealing beneath the helm gray, pallid flesh and two crimson eyes that burn with hate. And you awaken to the faint gray light of the Peruvian morning spilling into the dimly lit confines of your chamber.
Is anyone else awake yet?
You look around for a moment, and you see Kiva and Erthrandir both quietly awake, presumably their trances having finished. Metreon still fast asleep, and the others doing what they will. The morning is quiet, and outside you can hear the faint pitter-patter of rainfall on the rooftop and streets beyond.
Well, I'm not going to get any more sleep tonight, so Amity sort of begrudgingly rolls out of bed and patters over to the elves. Good morning.
You see Erthrandir look up from the little black book that he's been writing in, his face still tired. Morning, lovely. What's got you up so early?
Oh, I had another dream.
Oh, goodness. I presume not a good one if you're awake at like 4 a.m.
It's 4 a.m.? Oh.
It's not 4 a.m. as such. It's probably closer to 6 or 7 in the morning, but it is relatively early.
6 a.m.? Oh my god.
Thought you'd be used to this. Don't you have to get up early to milk the cows or whatever farm things are necessary?
I'm used to it. I'm also used to going to bed a little earlier.
Okay, that's reasonable.
A total amount of sleep.
And also when you're not hungover, I presume.
Yeah.
But yeah, what was the dream?
I don't really understand this one. And Amity's going to relay the events of the dream to her friends.
Yeah.
And as she does so, if the others would like to, I would say that if Lillison and Metron would like to awaken as well, you could probably hear the conversation. By now, I would say that your long rest comes to an end if you would like it.
Metron's going to sleep in a little bit more.
All right.
Lillison is going to wake up but pretend she's still asleep.
All right. It is the
It's the
elves and the storyteller.
He looks over at Kiva, his eyes kind of bunched into a frown. The rotten flat, that sounds sort of familiar. Like, you remember that the man on the horse we saw on the trail, or not the living horse, the the undead.
What about him?
That sounds kind of... The descriptions kind of match. I mean, if we're looking for future, then I think that might... Who knows? But let me... I'm sorry, let me get the rest of this right. You said there was a dragon? Or like a skeleton of a dragon? Or... there's so much happening, I didn't quite catch it.
A skeleton, more like if you carved a statue from just a cube of bone.
That is unnerving. Really cool, but unnerving. So there's a bunch of knights that can't abandon their purpose. There's a dragon bone statue, and there's a great enemy they need to fight. These have been unclear before, but this one's kind of a doozy.
The only thing I can think is either the horse dude you said earlier, or the supposed the haunted dragon at that place we're going to.
Oh shoot. Yeah, that... Well, I was already thinking that was... Pardon me, that was where we were going. I suppose we should probably listen to fate on this one. But that's weird. It wasn't like bad though, right? Like a nightmare?
It was scary at the end, but nothing bad happened to me, so that's good for the day.
Good. All right. Well, I suppose that's our next destination then, once we get the old bird and get him on our side. I'll tell you what, I'll want to start working on breakfast. That way we can maybe coax Metreon out of his cocoon. And
Yeah,
Lillison. Usually she's up earlier. What are you saying, Linus?
Amity nods and goes down and start flipping some simple pancakos.
Yep, Aerith will help.
Okay, with that said, the two of you make your way downstairs, finding Danica in the kitchen, and if you'd like, you're able to come together, Erwin joining you a few moments later, and begin putting together an early morning breakfast. The rest of you, as you would like, are able to come awake as you will.
Yeah, I was going to say, as the two of them start to exit the room, Metreon's he's been laying flat on his back, princess style, a little bit like Snow White. But as they leave, his eyes start to flutter open, and he smiles, but not in the usual cocky, shit-eating way that he usually does, but more of a genuine smile of almost relief, as relieved as you can be in Barovia. He'll get up, he'll put on a shirt, and follow the sound of their steps.
Okay. As you do, you awaken the others from their places sleeping, some on the balcony, some on the floor of the room. Esmeralda bidding you good morning as Ismark and Irina begin preparing themselves for the day. Downstairs in the kitchen, Danica and Erwin turn toward the two of you, Amity and Arthrendir. Erwin looking a bit concerned. So, there was a bit of a... I really don't mean to intrude, but given last night, are you quite sure that everything's all right between you? Is there anything that we could do, or...
Arthrendir is mid pancake flip, and in the distraction of the question, he misses it by an inch. Oh, damn it! Oh, yeah, no, it's fine. We've talked it over. Everything's okay.
Oh, well, good to hear then. Sorry, do you mind passing me some of the bowl of flour over there?
Oh, yeah, gotcha. And he will slide it over.
Many thanks.
Do
Well
you see
then,
Metreon coming down?
Yeah, I would say Metron comes down at this point, and as you'd like, if there's anything you'd like to do this morning, the day is
Yeah,
yours.
yeah. He'll. I assume no one's in the actual tap room, so he'll look around and he'll head towards the kitchen and just hang out in the doorway, watching quietly.
All right. Anything from Kiva or Lillison?
No, Kiva's just gonna keep an eye on Metron because he seems a little different this morning, and but otherwise not really engaged. She's just sort of watching him in a very not sneaky way because she's not very good at that. And just sort of keeping an eye on him through breakfast.
Lillison is going to wait until everybody else has left the room, and then she's going to rise and very quickly get ready for the day, thinking about everything that she overheard when she was pretending to be asleep. And when she goes downstairs, she tries to see where Ismark is.
Ismark, you can tell, is kind of leaning against one of the windows, occasionally glancing outside, and speaking quietly with Adrian Mardukov. He greets you with a nod as you approach. Morning. Seems that we've got less than welcoming traveling weather today, yes?
Yes, I suppose so. Although, well, honestly, with all of the cloud cover, I would have expected much worse weather before now. Do you have a moment?
Of course. Sorry, Adrian, one moment. And he steps aside.
Lillison is actually going to walk outside.
All right, he'll follow you there, making your way out to the door beneath the overhang of the second floor that covers the space before the entrance. Beyond, you can see the rivulets of water running down the sides of the inn from the roof above and forming small streams and puddles of mud that run down toward the main street. In the distance, you can hear faint thunder rumbling as Ismark turns toward you and leans against the side of the stone well just outside of the tap room. What's going on? Is everything all right?
Lillison's
I know
gonna
last
take
night
a
was a
moment.
bit of had a bit of a lot going on.
Lillison is going to take a moment to see if there are any bats hanging out nearby or any other potential spies.
Make a perception check.
That is a 14.
Looking around, you don't immediately notice anyone that seems to be suspicious.
She turns her attention back to Ismark and says, I think everything is, if not fine, really, then workable for now. There really is no direction to go except forward, really.
So it would seem. I presume that we have a number of places to go forward at the moment, so I suppose that it's better than looking behind us, if nothing else. Hopefully we can get somewhere with all these.
Quite true, yes. I was wondering, when we first met you, one of the very first instances where we ran into trouble on the road, after, the first one, you were amazing with that sword, really. Where did you learn to fight like that?
He chuckles quietly and looks a bit nostalgic. Well, my father taught me, to be perfectly honest. Insisted that it did good for a future burgomaster to do what he could to defend his people. So I learned, I practiced, and eventually I suppose it became a bit more than that. I sought out some assistance from some of the older fighters in the village. There were not many in the village left after a lot of what happened, but in the process, I guess it made me realize how much my people had lost, I wanted to be more. I wanted to keep training, keep fighting, keep preparing myself. I wasn't ready to let my people continue the way that they were.
I had noticed that of all of the people that we have seen here in these lands so far, there are far fewer accustomed to martial endeavors than I am used to. Is there no school, academy, sword master in these lands at all?
If there is, it is one that has remained well hidden. Truth be told, Barovia never had much in the ways of proper defenses. We had no wall, and, well, the townsfolk, my father and I did our best, my father more than I, to keep them up and together, but that close to Ravenloft, but the castle, spirits suffer beside it. I could not speak to you of Wallaki before coming here, but after looking around, well, they have the walls, but I have heard stories of great academies of militia and armies that fight great wars and go to great distances to fight enemies and conquer lands. Some of the heroes of those tales inspired me when I was young. But Barovia, if ever it had a war, it has not seen one in quite a long time.
And I suppose any local defense only needs to be strong enough to keep back the wolves and other creatures of the forest.
He nods. So I would presume, from what I can tell, a good number of the guards at the gates are, well, young men and women who have had a spear thrust into their hands and been told to make the best of it. I empathize, but truth be told, our peoples do not seem to have very much more that they can do.
Lillison nods and glances down. Then she walks over to where the nearest rivulet of rain is streaming down the side of the wall and just stares at the water for a moment. She reaches out and places her fingertip in the water's path and sees how it splits around her fingertip. And she says, "Would you perhaps be willing to train me?"
He blinks. Well, if you would like, I certainly suppose that I would be glad. It can take a bit of a while to pick up the forms of the sword, and it is a bit of a dying art in Barovia, but of course, I'm sure that we would have ample time while making camp and such things. Is there a particular reason? I had not taken you for a woman of the sword. You seem to be quite adept with your own tools.
I am not. I could have been. We had a fencing instructor when my brothers and I were, well, younger. I did not take to it very well. I was slow and weak, and after we learned, she looks down at the focus, which is back on her hand. It became evident that perhaps I should not spend too much time in close quarters in a mindset where I might accidentally wreak too much harm, but this is not a land or a place where it is safe to have weaknesses.
He nods at that and then looks quietly thoughtful for a moment. You know how I'd mentioned that Barovia has not had a war in a very long time, yes? Truth be told, it is difficult to wage war against something so great you have no means of fighting it. How do you wage war on a monster older than your people, more powerful than any that have come before it? Well, I suppose now I see the answer. He gives you a smile. If you need to take on a force that a simple war is not able to defeat, perhaps you merely need to find more soldiers. And he gives you a nod and a smile. It would be my pleasure to teach you.
Thank you. I will warn you right now, I am not going to be a quick study, but Metreon asked me something last night. He asked if Kiva and I had truly erupted into a fight, who would win, and at the moment there is absolutely no question. The moment that somebody actually gets through any of my defenses and lays a hand on me, I would snap. And I don't want that to always be the case and always rely on evading every time somebody tries to,
He nods, stroking his chin. You know, it is funny you should say that. The man that my father learned the blade from, he was an outlander of sorts. Came through from the mists. I do not know what happened to him. But when he spoke of the way with the sword, it always confused me that he said it was not a fight, but a dance. It was a way of being, a way of moving with the blade as though it was your partner of sorts. And I never understood it at first, but in time, the blade, it becomes a part of your body, as though you move with it, like a partner that you wish to lead or guide. And though you might say that you wish to avoid evasion, I think that you might be more temperamentally suited than you might think. And he offers you a small grin. If you would like, it would be my pleasure to give you your first lesson this evening.
I would like that very much. Thank you.
He gives a nod. But of course. Was there anything more you wish to discuss?
Only that you seem much more, if not cheerful, than less stressed these days, and I am very glad for that.
It is, it is not entirely one thing or the other. I must confess that a sister with memories that may not be her own, or a vampire that seeks to kill us, or worse, friends who I may not be able to protect. It is a bit much, but what keeps me going, I suppose, is, well, it has been many years that I have searched for a path that I could take to take on the monster that has tormented my lands and people. And, well, these times are confusing, yes, but I finally feel like I have a way of doing something about it, and with people that I feel confident will fight at my side. I don't know if you would call that cheerful, but I think it's worth smiling about. And he offers you a wink.
She smiles back at him and says, I am, then, glad that you have found your purpose again.
Of course. And I am glad that you seem to be finding will. Perhaps not purpose, but a better path for yourself.
That we have yet to see. So, what was for breakfast? I smelled something amazing coming from inside.
I think that Amity was making those circular things that she made that first night. What were they called? Pancakes?
Pancakes. Cakes that you make in a
Yes,
pan.
those.
Yes.
Let us have those. Those sound very good. I could go for those right now.
Good. Let's go back inside. It's getting quite damp.
He chuckles and holds the door open and proceeds inside after you as you return to the tap room.
Are there any pancakes left, or have you guys eaten them all?
I think Earthrendeer probably made extra to compensate for the many that he dropped in a fit of overenthusiasm trying to flip them. So yes, there are pancakes.
Excellent. Lillison will snag a pancake and then go into a corner, as she does.
As you do, you watch as Stefania steps toward the bar and takes a small platter of pancakes on a tray. Do you mind if I take these upstairs? My father has taken most of his meals up there. He'll probably probably best to make sure that he has something to eat as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe one of us should go with you, Kiva says, sort of like questioning the group.
Earth looks over at her. I think if we're starting that conversation, it might be better to have all of us.
Okay. She'll just go back to eating her pancakes.
But yeah. So he turns to the others. So 20 minutes, we want to head up and tell him about the gem.
Yeah, give him some time to digest, I suppose, and then but we should try to get him this morning so that we can get on the road if it's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't like the look of that rain.
Okay, so if you'd all like, you can take 20 minutes or so to finish your morning meal before proceeding to whatever you decide to do next.
Yeah.
I'd also say, too, that Metreon has been uncharacteristically quiet throughout the morning. He's just been eating, obviously, and watching.
Yeah, I would say that in that 20 minutes, Kiva would probably try to talk to him if he's amenable to it.
Yeah, I mean, are you trying to talk to him alone, or?
Yeah, she's a little suspicious, so she's like, maybe doesn't want to put him on blast in front of everyone if something's actually wrong that he's hiding very well.
Yeah, I mean, he's just sitting down eating, so.
Yeah, so maybe after a little bit, she'd just come over and just be like, "Can I talk to you for a mo?"
Oh, yeah, go for it.
So once they have a little bit more privacy, she just say like, "Look, I know things were very, very hard yesterday, and you just seem well, okay, I'm not going to beat around the bush. You seem really okay, and that worries me a little bit because yesterday it was anything but okay, and I just wanted to make sure that you're not trying to like put on a front for us, or it's okay not to be okay. You don't have to pretend or anything."
Metreon just plants his hand on her shoulder very comfortingly and just gives her a very warm, genuine smile. I'm a good actor, but not that good. I feel like last night I got not closure, but something else, something like it, and I'm just trying to ride this until it stops. So enjoy your pancakes, and don't worry about me.
Kiva looks almost scared for a moment with this sort of like genuine smile. But then she softens and she sort of pulls Metreon into a one-armed hug, if he'll allow it.
Oh yeah, and when you do that, he'll wrap his other arm around you and give you both hands.
Look, you're probably the best friend I've ever had, and I don't really care about anything else, but I want your trust and your friendship, and I'm just glad you're okay, because I don't know what I'd do if you weren't.
That's sweet of you, and I guess deep down inside, I feel a little bit the same. It's just taking a little bit getting used to. But
no, trust me, you're not the type of person I thought I'd be friends with, but I just you mean a lot to me, and I'm glad you're okay, because you deserve to be happy, however long it lasts.
yeah, I wouldn't say I'm happy, but I've made some peace with some things, and we gotta go. We gotta keep going, and we either get out or die trying.
If I die along anyone, I'd be happy it's you. And she just sort of give him that friendly kiss on the forehead thing, and then let him go and go back to breakfast.
As she starts to move away, he'll put his hand on her wrist. Hey, we should probably go up and find Davian, yeah?
Yeah, I think now's the best chance we'll get, right?
Bring the sword with you.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, he'll let her go.
Lillison, Earthunder, and Amity, you see, looks like Kiva and Metron getting up. You guys are going to Davian?
Yeah.
Yeah, once that 20 minutes is passed, we go talk to an old guy.
Can they go to Davian while Amity does a little seance? Because the seance might take some time.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Cool.
All right, are you setting up in here, outside? Where do you want to conduct it?
Just in my room at the Blue Water Inn, and it can be just Amity this time, if no one else wants to.
Okay.
Is there a benefit to having other people though with it?
If it needs to be a level in spell, I need N people participating.
Is that what you're doing? Do you need us for what you have in mind?
I specifically am thinking about seancing for detect magic here, which it means I would not need anyone's help. I'm a powerful female character who doesn't need any man.
Jesus.
All right, in that case, yes, if you'd like, you may go upstairs and conduct a seance, while the others make their way to Davian.
Yeah.
That's amenable to everyone.
Also, we have the physical gem on us, right? That's a thing.
Irina
you do,
has it.
yes.
Okay. Then
Irina produces it to you. Here, if you'd prefer to hold it, that might work better.
thank you. I'll take it. And
Sure
then, head upstairs.
Okay. Together, you make your way up to the upper floor of the inn, on the opposite side from how you usually pass. This time, ascending the balcony, you pass by the long wooden railing carved with raven motifs, the many lanterns illuminating the rafters and casting long shadows along the peaked ceiling before you. As your steps echo together off the wood of the floor, you find yourselves coming to a simple closed door. The same door in which you previously kept Victor for a brief time.
He takes a deep breath and knocks.
There's a pause, and then you hear a gruff, strained voice say, "What the fuck do you want?"
It's the outsiders. We've got some you'd like to see, I think.
You think you hear a sigh through the other side. Great. Why don't you fucking come in then?
He You see Earthendeer's eyes roll as he turns back to the others for a moment, and then he turns the handle.
The handle turns, and you step forward into the smaller room beyond. You see the bed heaped with wolf furs, the tall wardrobe, and the writing desk in the corner. An oil lamp burning low, as you see just sitting in the chair, body turned toward the gray window with the rain streaming down the glass on the outside, but head now turned toward you. Davian. You see his green cloak has been removed and hung over the top of the bed's end of the bedpost. You see his long gray-white beard extended down to his chest and growing a bit unkempt in some places. You can see beneath it, where his cloak has been removed, he wears just a simple green-brown tunic, although he still wears the several rings across his fingers. And he offers you a skeptical look, glancing across your party. All right, then. So it looks like we've got the menagerie coming back. Going to have our little chat, eh?
Something like that. And
Right,
before
well, I'd offer you a seat, but for it I only got the one.
Nah, it's alright. I'd prefer to stand. And Aerith reaches into his pocket, and as he does, he says, before I do this, know this was one with the blood and fear and cunning. Men and women died for this. That being said, and then the gems in his palm. Here you are.
Davian begins to snort almost derisively, and then his gaze catches sight of the small, glittering, pinecone-shaped crystal in your hand that glows with a faint viridian light. His lips open, but no sound comes out for a moment. You hear kind of a strangled at the back of his throat. You watch as the muscles in his face and chest slowly relax, as for a moment you realize that Davian Mardukov is absolutely speechless.
Aerith is not used to this, but he is going to take advantage of it as he just walks over calmly and places it into his hand. There. No strings, no conditions. But it's yours.
Well,
He pulled up a hand. Now, with that in mind, would you like to talk?
Davian's fingers curl around the gem in his hand, and you notice his shoulders are trembling faintly. Why? Why the fuck will you get this? This is just a useless fucking gem to you. Why you even fucking give it to me? You could sell it somewhere.
Well,
who we sell it to?
yeah, there is the practical. And also, I can't speak for the others, and I won't, but I know what it's like to have every bit of what you've built, your home, stripped away. And I know that having even something tiny to hold on to keep going with is important. That's my reason. I can't tell you theirs, but it's for that.
He shakes his head, just a kind of a harsh, soft chuckle that abruptly cuts off, and you realize that there's a stifled sob as you see moisture glittering at the edges of his eyes. Right, he coughs, sounding a bit awkward. Right, here, have a seat on the bed or something. If you want to talk, I'll talk.
Yeah, I'll sit down.
He glances around to you. Right, well, I see you didn't bring your little prophecy girl with you. She alright?
Oh yeah, she's fine. She's communing with the dead to get magic. It's weirding me out too. But...
He shudders and then barks laughter. Fucking commune with the dead. Right. What's more for the pile? Alright then. So, you come here for a chat, so by all means, let's chat. He nods toward each of you in turn. I'm listening.
Aerith looks at the others as if inviting them to speak first.
Lillison tips her chin up a little bit, and she says, "When we were in your winery the first time, trying to clear out those who had invaded it, the birds in there spoke very, very highly of you."
Did they now? I imagine I fed him once or twice.
Much more than that was the impression that we gleaned.
He cracks you a grin, sitting back in his chair. Well then, I must say I'm flattered. High praise to be the favorite of a bunch of birds. You catch a small glint in his eye that he recognizes as being a bit facetious with that. So then, is that all that's brought you to me today? You're looking for a fucking bird feeder?
Perhaps because the impression that we got was that you also manage to be the purveyor of a great deal of information from your friends in the sky and on the ground.
Sorry, could you repeat that last bit?
Starting from where?
Just friends. Was that friends on the sky or the ground?
Yeah.
Gotcha. He raises an eyebrow. Well, friends can come in many places.
And friendship can be maintained in many ways. And in times of need, it is good to have many friends who can bring you more information and resources than one may be able to gather on one's own. We wish to be friends with you, as absolutely corny as that sounds. How else can we help you and your family?
He snorts and then holds up a hand, glancing around the rest of the group to Kiva, Erythrindir, and Metreon. Right. All can appreciate this one, but if you want something from me, tell me and I'll tell you if I can give it to you. I don't need this hoity-toity tall talk. What you want?
You was a warrior at some point, or at least know how to fight.
I'm an old man. Why do you think that I know how to fight?
I mean, you're an old man in a place that don't have many old people. Seems like it's a bit tough out here to survive if you are of a certain vulnerable age group.
Right. And what might you want that fight for?
Well, most of us, and he looks over at Kiva, most of us wasn't fighters when we got here, but we've had to be. We've had to become them. And, we're not from here, and we're really trying to get out. And we know, what with you being a native and all, I'm sure that you're not very keen on the rulership here either. So we're proposing you you'll help us out a bit. In whatever way you can.
Right, help you out, because if I remember correctly, some old lady among the Vistani, was it? Done and told you that I'm some kind of fighter, right? And do you want my help to, well, change in leadership? If I were right, I reckon that you're looking for my help to kill the fucker in that castle.
You
Yeah.
would be right.
Definitely.
It's him or us.
Either directly or indirectly, there are items we are trying to find that perhaps somebody with eyes all across the land would be able to help us identify where they are.
We're not looking for a warm body. We're looking for what you can do. And as my companions have said, that's evidently quite a bit.
He pauses for a moment, looking down at the small, glowing, pinecone-shaped gem in his hands, turning it over in his palms. You know, when this was stolen, all I could think of was getting to see it again. It was my father's before it was mine, and it was his father's and his mother's before that. And now there's not a scrap left. Just a whole bunch of splinters. You know, it's funny. When I wanted this back more than anything. Figured that we could get back on with everything. But I reckon that if the devil wanted to tear the damn place down once, his folk would do it again. That much of a second thought. He glances up toward you, his face hard, the tears long since dried. If what you're telling me might be true, then on the one hand it sounds like an utter fucking suicide mission. But on the other hand, if I, by helping you, have even the slightest chance to end that fucker's tyranny up in that castle. His hands tighten around the gem. Maybe it's time for this old man to stop moping in an inn and go do something before he dies. He squeezes the gem in his hand and gives you a nod. I'll help you. Then he glances toward Metreon. But know this, lad. You might call me a fighter, and I know my way around a blade and a crossbow. But I've survived this long, unlike many others, because I know where to stick my nose and what to take out of it, and when not to. So if you're asking for me, you're asking for all of me. You're not going to get some gladiator or something like that. You're going to fucking get someone who knows what not to fucking do and knows where to look to know what not to fucking do. You understand?
Well, that's
Awesome.
fine. We don't need this assholes in this group. I'd
Yo.
take that job for myself.
He grins, and it's the first real expression of mirth that you've seen him show yet. He nods and, tucking away the gemstone in the pocket of his tunic, claps his hand and says, Right. I suppose that'll do then. So, what in the blazes do you need my help for? I presume you're not marching off to the castle today.
Not that foolish yet. We're the reading that we got, the view of the future, had 2 other items we're looking for. One of which we're pretty damn sure we know where it is. The other, less so. We're searching, we're gathering resources, and we're learning as much about the vampire and his strengths, his weaknesses as we can. Right now, that looks like, along with the lovely woman meditating in the next room's recent dream, looks like it's leading us to the old mansion outside of town.
He nods, stroking his beard and looking thoughtful. The old place. It's been gone, lost for a long time. Whatever folk were once there weren't there anymore. But I've heard some old things about it. Might be interesting to take a gander if you think that there might be something there worth looking into. But I've got a bit of a question. You mentioned 2 other things. What have you got and what you're looking for?
God is, well, I suppose it's an open secret at this point.
Well, actually, if you don't mind, I think it'd be good if, and he looks around, looking at the obviously cramped room. If you wouldn't mind maybe going upstairs with us, maybe get some of the others, the rest of the family and all that.
He frowns at you. Upstairs, you mean in the attic?
Yes.
He shrugs. If you like to, ain't no skin off my back. By all means.
Right. Well, I'll meet you up there. And Metron looks at the others. Let's just trust me on this.
All right.
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay.
And yeah, he's going to go ahead and try and round up all the Mardikovs and Yeska.
Oh,
Okay.
wow, the whole gang.
Okay, it takes a little bit of doing. Some people have, gone about their own thing. You actually take note that Elvir and Dag are actually missing. They appear to have gone to run some errands in town. But short of those 2, everyone else, you're able to, assuming you're sufficiently insistent, which I imagine you would be, you can gather.
He's
everyone
very
upstairs without too much
persistent. He's
difficulty.
also very,
Oh, yeah.
charming and.
I would say that you can, do so. It takes a good, 10, 15 minutes to sort of round everyone up. But eventually, there is a large group of people clustered upstairs in the stuffy, hay-strewn attic above the rest of the inn. And everyone looking, kind of shuffling a bit and looking a bit uncomfortable, but expectant. And, Danica coughs and says, "Right then, so what's this about?"
So this was to continue a point we was trying to make earlier. And I think you need to see it. And then he turns to Kiva. You mind?
Not at all. She reaches into underneath her cloak and pulls out the hilt of the sun sword and just, basically sends like rise and shine to it, which I'm assuming is her. I'm now making canon is her code word to activate the sun sword.
The sun sword responds with a burst of joy and glee, and then bursts into the shining, radiant blade, casting bright lights and dim shadows across every corner of the attic.
So this is my my new friend, and it's been quite a help so far in dealing with the minor vampire problem that you have here. And we're hoping it continues to be a help as we carry on this mission.
Immediately, as the sun sword blazes to life, a good half of the group kind of shies away, holding up their hands to block the bright sunlight. Others leaning in, and the rest of them all eventually gazing with awe, slight trepidation toward it. You hear Davian mutter, "What in the fucking blazes is that? You take a few hundred candles and toss them into a sword, girl."
Well, I certainly didn't. I'm not as magically adept as that, but someone must have, and they intended for this to help. At least that's what Madame Eva said. And like I said, it does a pretty nice job.
It's fucking... And then you hear Erwin, "It's beautiful." And then he and Davian, their gazes meet, and then each of them grunts, Davian snorting, and they break their gazes violently away.
Oh.
This is what we're fighting for. It's light here. It's not new to us. We saw it every day when we was out of here, and we took it for granted. But if there's a chance that, if we get out of here and we do what we are here to do, and maybe you all can have this too. Not the sword, but just, the symbolism.
Stefania holds up a hesitant hand. So that's sunlight. That's sunlight.
Yeah. It's a lot more concentrated in here than it is usually on the outside, but it's pretty much it.
But do you mean that's what we could see if he was gone?
I mean, that's what's behind them clouds, and from what we've heard, they've been around as long as he has, and they haven't parted. So maybe if there's a chance we can part them and shine a light at this place, and that's just a bonus.
She glances down at the tiny baby girl in her arms, holds her a bit closer, and then nods, smiling. Right then. And she just quietly regards the sun sword as you watch the baby's eyes in her arms just kind of gently and with great fascination trace the outline of the shimmering blade.
And as that's going on, Metron will then lean down and just kneel down at Yeska's eye level height, and just sort of smile at him. Is he still wearing that weird, creepy mask?
No, he actually is not wearing it. And you notice that he is, in fact, wearing the holy symbol of Father Lucian around his neck. He looks toward it with his eyes wide, the bright light shimmering in his irises. And he doesn't say anything, but he just smiles softly, sniffling, and then reaches up to wipe his nose.
Metron touches the center of it and sees his black claw just kind of scrape against the surface a bit. You keep taking good care of that, yeah?
He shyly nods. At this, Davian coughs. Right then, so you've got a hilt with a piece of a fucking sun or star or whatever stuck on the hilt. You said there were two other things you were looking for. What else could you need? Ain't this enough?
It was enough for the servants. One servant. For the man himself, we might need others. There's a holy symbol of power, I think they said. Something of history.
There was something that was hidden in the tomb of a guild member. Does that mean anything to any of you?
A number of them shake their heads, but you watch as at the first part of what you say, Davian snorts, shaking his head. A holy symbol of great power. Boy, there's only one holy symbol of that kind in Barovia, and ain't nobody fucking knows what it is.
Wait, you know about it? What is it?
Of course I fucking know about it. The holy fucking symbol of fucking Ravenkind. It's the oldest fucking thing. And ain't nobody seen it for centuries.
Well, no one has seen this thing that my good friend here is holding ever, as far as I can tell, so perhaps we might have more of a chance than most. What is it?
He raises an eyebrow, exchanging glances with Stefania for a moment, and then looking back toward you. It's an amulet of sorts. At least that's what folks say it is. It's got a big gold fucking red crystal in the center. Folks say it looks like the sun if you look at it just right. So the legend goes, the first one to hold it was a paladin by the name of Lugdana. The legend says that it was, given to her by a giant raven, or an angel in the form of a giant raven. The stories don't all agree, but hence the name. So the stories go. Lugdana used it to find and destroy nests of, well, vampiric beasts wherever she could until she died. And well, after she died, that's where the trail goes fucking cold.
Nests of vampires. That could be very useful indeed.
He shrugs. Like I said, they're mostly stories, but it's a bit of a sacred tale to a lot of the folk of this land.
Well, we have something of a direct line on that, thanks to a literal gift of prophecy, so if we can track that thing down before we fight him, then, well, seems like it would give us an edge, is to put it conservatively.
If you could find the fucking holy symbol Raven kind, well, suffice it to say that I'd feel a lot less like I'm about to dive into a suicide mission. And at this, he watches Erwin's gaze kind of glances sharply up toward him, looking slightly confused and hesitant, but then quickly averting his gaze again.
Well then, we've got an objective, we've got places to go, and we've got, thanks to my friends here, a hint of what we're fighting for. He looks at the others. When do y'all want to leave?
No time like the present, I suppose.
All right. And thank you, all of you, for this. I know we've abruptly taken you into a confidence we can't really undo, but thank you.
Danica smiles and gives you a slightly shaky nod. No need to apologize. I think that I speak for most of us here that we appreciate it more than you can know. What we can do to help, we will.
Thank you. Well then. Get your raincoats, lads and lasses. Let's go bring light to this land.
Okay. And with that, coming together, you hear the slight sounds of conversation and muffled discussion as the group prepares to exit the attic. And each of you makes your way down into the space below.
As they
and
go,
prepares yourselves for the journey.
Aerith turns to Metreon and just says, "That was a really good idea. Thank you. That was very smart."
Yeah, I figured I deserve that.
They do. Out of anybody here, they've been gems, all of them. Thanks.
Yeah, let's crack on.
Okay. And with that, you make your way downstairs to prepare yourselves for the journey to come. And that is where we will take our break.
I just imagine during all of this very heartwarming moment, Amity in her room just speaking in this like devil tongue, talking to ghosts.
Tentacles crawling out of her eyeballs.
Yeah. Different kind of heartwarming scene.
Yep. Oh boy. Well, we have an ally, lads and lasses.
Woo!
You also have a milestone. Welcome to level 8, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Woo!
That's what we wanted.
Beautiful. Well, we will be leveling up over the break, I imagine. Speaking of breaks, as always, we will pick this back up in around 15 minutes or so. This week, as always, we have a few other messages from our D&D community. This week, we will have a fireside chat with our very own Linus about Twice Bitten and the importance of running your own game your own way. So, please do enjoy, and we will see you all back here very soon.
Welcome to Fireside Chat, a short interlude with weekly features where I, your host Jup Lucas, will be showcasing and interviewing prominent D&D creators. This week, we're talking to Linus, a Curse of Strahd dungeon master and a player of Amity and Twice Bitten, about avoiding the Dragon effect, how your game is not twice bitten and how that's a good thing. Are you saying that any D&D game can possibly be better than Twice Bitten? Do I need to send you rotten eggs in the mail?
Thanks, but that wouldn't be worth the international postage. I love TB and its cast, and I love having a friendly audience. And I'm proud to announce that Twice Bitten has passed my threshold for fame, namely a Reddit post from a DM lamenting that their game isn't like TB. But in part because TB is a performative podcast, there are parts of it that would be suboptimal for a weekly home game. So yeah, according to our surveys, odds are you're using our campaign as a mold to run your own. And if so, I'm here to suggest which parts of that mold to study and treasure, and which parts that maybe if you throw them away, like mold, will actually make your game better than Twice Bitten.
So what about Twice Bitten's format would you not copy and paste into your own campaign?
Being performative is sometimes at cross purposes with having fun. Simple example, there are many times in Twice Bitten when two player characters do an extended emotional aside. For a performance, this is great. Like, constant 5-character conversations would be hard to follow and hard to keep focused. But for a home D&D game, most players don't really gel with having extended scenes that they're excluded from, or that aren't about them at all. Now, something from Twice Bitten that you probably do want in your home game is delicious strawberry-flavored character-based roleplay. And yeah, you can absolutely encourage RP. Like, you can ask your players questions like, what is Metreon thinking right now? You can straightforwardly just tell the players what kind of scenes you think would be fun in your game. And you can have NPCs ask them like fluffy questions like, oh, have you ever gotten into trouble with the law? One of my favorite takeaways from TV so far is Dragna's wonderful portrayals of all of the commonly encountered NPCs. That, for example, is a lovely thing to steal for your game. But let me tell you about my absolute favorite D&D player. He's my favorite because he's my boyfriend, and he's in my own Curse of Strahd game. He loves roleplay, and he is better than me at roleplay, but I don't know if he'd be very happy in Twice Bitten. When whole hours go by with just interparty roleplay and no close call combat or tense face-offs, I get the sense, because he's open and honest with me and he tells me it directly, that he becomes inattentive. Pacing, folks, it's important. Sometimes people will talk about these types of D&D players, like the min-maxer, or the actor. I don't really like these labels, mostly because they're presented like everyone is supposed to be exactly one of them, and they're also presented like, oh, you're good if you're the actor, and you're bad if you're like, you care about combat and stuff. I prefer thinking about, and snobby academic reference incoming here, Marc LeBlanc's 8 Kinds of Fun. So different players are engaged by a different mixture of stuff like role-playing to get immersed in a fantasy world, and overcoming challenges with smart decision-making, and just hanging out with their friends at a table, and a number of other things. 5 other things. 5 is the number of other things. Angry GM has a brilliant article about this called Gaming for Fun. Do read it, it will level you up as a dungeon master. And it's important that you tune your game, and if possible, pick your players, so that the players who want challenge feel challenged, and the players who want fantasy feel immersed, and most importantly, you as a DM are engaged. Now, for a performative podcast, au contraire, when you listen, for example, to an actual play podcast, what do you not want to hear? For me, at least, it is a full hour of Firebolt, 19 to hit. That hits! 7 damage. Then a bonus action to disengage, and I move back 20 feet. When I'm actually playing D&D, that means everything to me. I mean, it's tactical grade combat, right? You gotta go to the right square if you don't want to be hit. You gotta cast the right spells. You gotta, help out the right allies. But as a listener, I can't engage with the micro tactics. The things I really care about are A, individually hype as hell moves, and B, are they winning? Hence, for Twice Bitten, it's natural that, well, as a performative campaign, we do less combat than our individual players might want in a normal game of D&D.
How about the premise of Twice Bitten? that the player characters aren't heroes or adventurers, but normal angsty people.
I'm of two minds about this. First, it is wonderful for generating great character RP. I mean, come on, you watched us, right? Like in Death House, that was an absolute rush. None of us wanted to be here, but we were trapped, we were going to starve if we stayed put. We were forced into action. However, I do feel like there was a lull after we reached Vallakian, when none of our characters wanted to go on adventures and check out the spooky haunted mansion or even leave the town at all. And this was only really resolved when we were, again, forced into action by Strahd showing up and telling us that if we stopped being interesting, then he would kill us and he would keep burning our houses down. Which, I mean, that is a great way to force us into action. That was brilliant. But overall, I encourage you to experiment with this idea of the PCs not being heroes at the start of your game, with the caveat that you should make sure they don't get frustrated. You might honestly just tell them that once they reach level 4 or 5, you expect them to become more adventurous, because exploring the world is the only way they'll be able to escape from it.
Are there any other traps a Dungeon Master might fall into by trying to replicate the Dragna Carta Twice Bitten experience?
Yes. If you're using TB as a guide for your own game, then you might be nervous if your players go off course. Say if they support the Baron over Fiona, or visit the swamp early on, or ask the pastry chefs for help poisoning Esmeralda. And if they do, resist the temptation to push back against them. Every game of Curse of Strahd is unique, that's what's so great about it, more so than even other published modules, and that is wonderful. It will be more exciting for you to see what story your players blunder into, and carefully plan their way into, than to rehash the plot of TB. And trust me, if you nudge the steering wheel too heavily, your players will feel it. If NPCs seem to have this preternatural sense for which areas are level appropriate for the PCs and guide them there accordingly, or if Irina keeps following your dudes around even though they don't really care about her and haven't talked to her in days, or if their plans to disguise themselves as the Baron and order Ezek to arrest Donica so that they can take over the Blue Water Inn are stonewalled, then your players will feel it, and they'll feel Curse of Strahd as a linear series of quests rather than a breathing world. Related, by the way, if you're a first-time Cursor of Strahd, it is so hard to figure out how to play Strahd. He is a complex, multi-dimensional villain, and I will 0% blame you for taking Twice Bitten's immediately openly monstrous Strahd and importing him copy-paste directly into your game. However, it's not the only Strahd. In my game, Strahd went for a more diplomatic relationship with the party initially. Like, you know how he talked to Lillison last episode? There was this underpinning of hostility, a constant implication that he's in control. He's a cat toying with his mice. So he plays with his food, but he's also intrigued by their actions. He at least pretends to respect them. His first interaction is not burning their house down. Because what he wants is to build the PCs up as heroes so that he can break them down. He wants to tempt them into evil so that he can lord their mistakes over them. And, well, eventually, once they get too powerful, once they actually might be a threat, well, yeah, nice gloves come off, they gotta go, time to burn their house down, time to kill them all, I mean. Send them to the crypts. I enjoyed my more diplomatic interpretation of Strahd, because even though my players hated Strahd as a villain, and knew that he was toying with them, they respected him. They were even excited to initiate conversations with him. And in addition, playing the slow roll gave my players insight into his history and motivations. So overall, Strahd is a wonderful villain, and he deserves your players' respect along with their fear.
Wow, Linus, you're so smart and handsome and make such good points. Final question. Twice Bitten runs Curse of Strahd 100% as written in the book, so that means we recommend you do too, right?
Yes, Zio, exactly. To do otherwise would be to insinuate that you are a better module writer than Chris Perkins. Do you think that you can write a better campaign than Chris Perkins? I mean, come on. It is a stroke of genius to decide whether to give your players the Bones quest based on whether or not one of them is a cleric or paladin. It signals to parties without a cleric or paladin that they've made a mistake and should start over. Gary Gygax himself wrote Tatiana's monologue to Sergei and Kresk. The rules as written Strahd stat block is a brilliant combination of impossible to beat if you abuse the phasing through walls ability, and incredibly flimsy if you don't. See, with this stat block, you can decide when and if your players deserve to win. And only a wimp would rig the Taroka reading. True dungeon masters accept the chance of giving the players no good reason to visit critical locations like Argynvostholt or the Amber Temple, or the chance of the players finding the Sun Sword in Session 5 and needing to rebalance all the fights. Oh, sorry, did I say rebalance? I meant run all combats as written, and either TPK or barely pose a challenge depending on the number and skill of your players. Well, of course there's guides out there, like Dragna's own Curse of Strahd Reloaded, which has wonderful suggestions on how to interpret and run the module, mixed in, unfortunately, with his entire cool_D&D_stuff.txt file strewn at random throughout Barovia. And Mandy Mod's Fleshing Out Curse of Strahd guide, which ups the campaign into an epic Tier 3 adventure, and therefore immediately fails since 5e isn't balanced above level 11. Also, I think it puts a corn maze in Krisk, which, what's going on? In conclusion, Curse of Strahd Dungeon Masters are like snakes. They're more scared of their players than their players are of them. But also, pretty much, no matter what, your players will love you for DMing. So don't fret if you're so far from Twice Bitten that you have 0 or even 5 bites in your own campaign. I hope this helped with some combination of your confidence and your awareness of your own table. You are now feeling very, very sleepy. When I snap my fingers, you will continue listening to Twice Bitten.
And welcome back, everyone, to Curse of Strahd Twice Bitten. Before we get started, as always, a few quick announcements. First, a shout out to our virtual tabletop sponsor for this campaign, Foundry VTT. They have some cool stuff coming out, some great updates rolling out. They recently had their first anniversary, so if you're in the market for an online tabletop, Highly recommend checking them out. They do some great stuff. Secondly, continuing on, we are still conducting our Twice Bitten audience survey at tinyurl.com/tbpoll2. That's tinyurl.com/tbpoll2. We would love to hear from you about how you enjoy and consume the stream, what you would like to see in the future, and a few other questions that shouldn't take longer than a few minutes to answer. So thank you to everyone who's replied so far. We deeply appreciate your feedback, and we love hearing from you guys. Twy, over to you.
Some nights, I lie awake, and I dream of homebrew. Terrors laughing of Vasily von Holtz and orphanages and a million takes on the dark powers. It haunts me. It will not let me rest. But then, an angel comes to me on gentle wing, blasting all that nonsense away. And she leans down, and she whispers in my ear, "Our Curse of Strahd on Twitch. Please subscribe." Thank you. Serena?
What
my
lovely
God.
performance art.
I can't ever follow it, and I'll say that every week until I'm dead. If you guys like what you are watching or listening to, you can join the discussion on our very own subreddit, reddit.com/r/twicebittendnd, and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/c/rcurseofstrahd, for all of our past sessions, fireside chats, video essays, and highlights from the stream. And we're like 100 followers away from 666 followers on Twitter. So if you haven't followed Twice Bitten COS on Twitter yet, get on that shit. Thanks, y'all.
Beautiful. Thanks, Serena. All right, excellent. With that, I think that's all we had to get through for today. Just a quick note, in case any of you might have noticed during the break, we did have several pictures rolling that included artwork of several of the NPCs in the Curse of Strahd module. If you're a DM looking for portraits of Curse of Strahd NPCs, the Curse of Strahd subreddit is, in fact, conducting a community commission where they are crowdsourcing and crowdfunding funds to further commission portraits of every NPC that we possibly can in the module. The first 8 have come out, as you saw over the break, and we are currently crowdfunding the next batch of 8 and taking votes for it. So if you are interested in contributing to or supporting that project so we can create and share better art and accessible art for everyone that wishes to run this excellent module, highly recommend going to reddit.com/r/curseofstrahd. That's reddit.com/r/curseofstrahd, and clicking one of the top 2 stickied posts at the very top of the board to learn more, access the existing portraits, and contribute and vote for the next batch. So thank you to everyone who has made this possible so far, and thank you to Ernesto, the fantastic artist, for doing such incredible work. Okay, so that, I think, is everything out of the way. So thank you to everyone for sticking around, and let us dive right back in. So, as a group of you descends down to the main tap room of the Blue Water Inn, preparing yourselves, putting on traveler's cloaks to brave the rain ahead, muffled bits of conversation mixing through the room. You see Davian off to the side, speaking quietly with Adrian and Stefania as Erwin watches balefully from the tap. You hear footsteps coming downstairs. Amity, if you'd like to rejoin the party at this time.
Yes, after rolling on the spirit table. And
Beautiful.
when she does, Amity will ask Esmeralda, what kind of creatures do we think that Strahd is, using? Like, I know bats.
Esmeralda frowns. Well, the traditional aspect is, vampire elders tend to have vampire spawn, as you have seen, that they create and dominate through their minds, through the bonds that they have. Of course, there are bats. Often they are found with wolves as well. Rats and other vermin tend to be seen in places where a vampire has made its lair. Often they do obey its will, in a sense. Beyond that, some vampires, it really depends. I have heard some tales that Zarovich fancies himself a necromancer of sorts, so it may be that he may empower, well, as we have seen in Kresk, the undead, be it zombies, perhaps other corporeal undead that might assist in his efforts. I could not say for certain until we see more clearly, but it is something that we had best keep an eye out for. If nothing else, I'm sure that should we ever venture to Ravenloft, that there might be many ancient traps there, both mechanical and perhaps supernatural, that might lay in wait for us.
So it's bats and rats that might be, well, we saw how Lillison said that a bat was delivering information to him about us.
So it certainly seems like something that we should expect, yes. They call them creatures or children of the night. I'm told a bit of a gauche term, but well, there is no accounting for taste when you are undead and have lived for several hundred years, I suppose.
Right. Amity nods. And while they travel, Amity will, of course, fill in her companions on this. Amity is going to be alternately ritual casting. Locate animals or plants, targeting bats, and then rats, and then detect magic. So sort of
That's a real spell?
cycle.
Holy shit, I didn't know that was a real spell. 1 second, let me look at the spell.
Describe or name
Wow.
a specific kind of beast or plant. You learn the direction and distance to the closest creature within 5 miles.
Jesus Christ! This is a real fucking spell!
Oh,
Okay.
this spell is like not good. It's a ritual.
But it exists. Okay. All right, which specific kind of beast or plant are you naming, if you could reiterate?
Right. So yeah, I'm alternately using it on bats and then rats, and then just ritual casting detect magic. So keeping up that kind of like cycle, as you will, while we travel.
Okay, gotcha. So I will say at this immediate point in time, there is a rat approximately 600 yards away across the street.
There's not rats in the Blue Water Inn. Wow, they're really good.
Listen, they keep a clean house.
I'm proud of them. I suppose the ravens eat them all.
But yes, there seems to be a rat across the street. That is the nearest one you locate. You cast it again,
100 yards away.
naming bats. You find no bats nearby within 5 miles.
Oh yeah, while we're doing spellcasting, bookkeeping, mage armor on myself and Amity, and Kiva if she wants it, if she would like to have something a bit better than leather armor for the day.
Yeah, she'd happily do that.
Radical. In that case, that is, your AC is 13 plus your dex for the next 8 hours.
Is she taking off her armor so that
She'd
this
have to,
takes effect? Yeah. Lillison is going to take a long look at the discarded armor.
What's...
You said 13 plus dex, what?
Plus your dex mod. That's your AC.
It's the same with or without the armor.
If you take a... Okay, so let me be clear. If you're not wearing armor, mage armor means that your AC becomes 13 plus your dex mod for the next 8 hours, but you can't be wearing armor to have the spell cast on you.
Right, but what I'm saying is with the armor on, it's the same as with the mage armor spell.
Are you sure about that?
Are you positive?
Are you wielding you're wielding a shield?
I'm wielding a shield.
That
Yeah,
would
so-
so with your dex is +3, right?
Yeah.
So with mage armor and a shield, your AC would be 18 instead of 16.
Oh, okay. I'm very sorry. I'm very dumb. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so if that's the case, then she would let Lillison use her leather armor if she's interested. It's not much. It's like scraps.
Oh, Lillison is not going to put on the armor. She's just going to look at it.
Oh, okay. She's like, is there something wrong?
Wrong? No. I, just reminiscing. I'm sorry.
No, no problem. If you need anything, though, just, give me a shout.
You hear footsteps approaching, and you see Davian, now fully equipped with his green cloak, though you see the kind of shiny, dangly objects, the kettle and the baubles and so on, that once lined it have been seemingly removed in most places. You can see that he has now strapped to his side a short sword, as well as across his back what seems to be a crossbow. Right then. Heading to some old haunted manor, eh?
Yep. Let's get out of the rain.
All right, good to go when you are then, I guess. He rolls his eyes. Going on some fool's errands with a bunch of... Well, I suppose I might have expected this at some point. What the
Expected what?
What do you
I
expect?
was a bit of a risk taker when I was a bit younger. That's all I'll say on the matter. So I suppose I ain't so surprised that I might end up here. It'll be a fun little trip, I'm sure. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens.
Likewise. And, hey, never too old to take a few more. And... Aerith will-
Anything that sees that bastard's face bashed in, I'm all for it.
Of course. And yeah, Aerith will look to the others and pull his hood up and step out into the rain.
Same. Metreon, however, will not don a disguise. He'll just stay pink-faced and white-haired.
Aerith cast a concerned look back at him. Hey, he kind of waves his hand in front of his face. You don't have the magic up.
Oh, yeah, it's okay.
Oh,
Should I have it up?
no, of course not. Just you usually do.
Yeah, I know. Just feeling a bit different today. Just want to sit in this right now.
Yeah, you
Well-
seem more at ease. I'm happy for you.
Thank you. But if you see anyone casting glances at me, just let me know.
Yeah, of course. And please, if I see anyone casting glances at you, that means we can flick them off as a group and move on, because we've done enough for this town. They can deal with somebody being bright pink in their range of view.
I speak of this town and stuff what we do. When we get that gold?
As you say this, you hear the sound of muddy bootsteps coming through the avenue toward you. And you see
Perfect
a
timing.
cloaked figure wearing a spear strapped across the back, chainmail clinking very faintly as the boots squelch through the mud. And you see one of the Vallakian guards approaching you. It appears to be a man of approaching middle age. He coughs and looks around at each of you. You notice he winces at Amity's horns and blinks at Metron's skin, but clears his throat. Right, excuse me, you're, he glances around, you're Lady Lillison and Erthundirand.
We're the
Yes.
assorted group of strange bastards, yes.
Yes, right. He reaches to a pocket of his cloak and pulls out a small pouch tied with twine. The lady, the Baroness asked me to deliver this to you. He glances around as if unsure who she should give it to you.
Lillison steps forward, holds out a hand with a, rather bored, careless look, and just says, "Thank you. That will be all."
He gives a grateful nod and deposits it in your hand for giving a slight bow and turning and marching away into the rain. You see that the small pouch also includes a small bit of parchment rolled up and nestled within the neck of the twine.
Yeah, as soon as he is sufficiently far away, Lillison is going to pull this thing open and see how much money is inside.
Okay.
And
Looks
she'll
momentarily though as this is happening because she's worried that she might have fucked it up with sending that message.
Lillison's gonna retrieve the little bit of parchment and then hand out the bag for everybody else to poke into.
The pouch does clink heavily with coin, and as you peer inside the neck, you do see a glint of gold.
Okay.
As you take the parchment and unfurl it in your hands, you can see written there in fine, elegant script. It would seem last night was more peaceful than most. May this trend continue for my sake and yours. Please accept this payment for services rendered, and go well. Signed, Baroness Fiona Voctor.
Well, it seems she has no more use for us.
Aerith is carefully counting the gold.
For now, she has no more use for us until another vampire comes.
Well,
It
we have
is-
no more use for her, so it's just as well.
It is, as she had indicated previously, 50 gold pieces exactly.
50. Won't solve all our problems, but pretty good nest egg.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be greedy, but I feel like last night was worth more than 50. But I guess we got bigger fish to fry. So
You hear Ismark chuckle. More than 50. This is more gold than I've ever seen in one place before.
Metron puts his hand on his cheek and kind of slaps it gently. Oh, you sweet summer child. It's a decent amount. We'll get you some more though. I promise.
He gives you a skeptical grin, but shrugs. Irina smiles and glances toward the rest of you. So then, is there anything we needed to purchase with these new funds? Or are we looking to get our start?
Not immediately, I don't think.
Right then.
And we're off into the rain.
And into the rain you go, as around you hear the distant rumbling of thunder slowly grow louder. The running of the rivulets of water down around you in small streams flowing across the roads as you make your way toward the western edge of town. And eventually out of Vallaki into the old Svalich Road once again.
As we're walking, Metron just remarks towards Ismark, but where everyone can hear, 50 is a good price, but one night, it was an overnight, I had at least 150 gold by the end of it. It's great.
Listen, I need to go out with you because clearly I'm not collecting gold in the right way.
Well, he had a thing for tieflings, so. And I got a forked tongue, so. And he looks sheepishly over at Ismark, almost in a weird way, kind of blushing a bit, realizing what he said. And sorry.
Ismark does not seem to be paying attention. In case she's interested, he currently has his short sword exposed and is showing Lillison some basic movements that she can practice on the road.
Well, they're really good at just missing. The whole sibling family just can't.
I would say I'm sorry, but I'm really not.
All right, well, as you go, you watch as you pass through the abandoned shacks that line the outskirts of Vallaki, the palisade wall slowly vanishing behind you into the fog as you proceed down the old muddy road that leads winding through the trees. It's not long after you leave, perhaps 10, 15 minutes or so that pass by, until you hear a faint ruffling in the underbrush to the northern end of the road. And Amity and Earthrendir, as your ears catch this, your eyes glance over toward the underbrush, and you see, crouched there, low to the ground, very slowly following you across the side of the road, a bulky figure covered from head to toe in mud, dark eyes leering from beyond the other side of the canopy of trees.
Aerith's eyes widen in panic for a moment, and then kind of exasperation takes his face more than anything, and he just looks to the side, casually pulls the wand out of his holster and points. and 3 magic missiles spring from his wand and blast towards this thing.
Okay, roll some damage.
Sure. 15 force damage.
Okay. You hear a grunt of pain as you watch the 3 missiles spiral through the air and smash into the side of this figure. You watch as brown mud suddenly splurts, blooming blossoms of red on the side as blood bursts from each of the sites of the wounds. The figure abruptly stumbles away.
Get the fuck out of here.
Anything from anyone else? This figure does not appear to be sticking around.
Did it look like the weird druid creature that was following us that one day?
Not like the druid creature. It looks more like, you've seen some of these people, kind of covered in mud. Yesterhill, for example, some of the berserkers kind of resembled this. This one more so than the others, but you can see like the muddy bits kind of running down the sides of the face, just covered in grime.
Yeah.
It just sort of gives a look to everyone. It's just like, do we want to...
I think we information is getting out one way or another. I just don't want them following us.
Metreon closes one eye and tries to focus, having his hand extended like a finger gun, and he kind of makes that sound. And as he does, from the tip of his finger, he releases a firebolt.
Okay. Roll the hit for me.
I'm so proud.
That's 13.
13. That will actually just hit. As the figure turns and moves to duck behind a large, rotted old dead tree that towers above the rest of the canopy, you take aim and fire true as this spiraling orb of flashing golden light, swirling with rings almost like a planet, sears through the air. You almost hear a distant choral sound like crystal echoing after it, and it smashes against the side of the mud-covered berserker, who then curses and stumbles, almost falling behind the tree. How much damage?
So that's going to be 6 damage.
Okay. You watch as there's this bright scorch mark that appears along the back. The figure cursing in pain again, and then stumbling out of sight.
Latrod.
You succeeded. God damn, Metreon. You picked that up from me.
I mean, maybe. And he sort of looks at his hand, still in that finger gun gesture. I don't know. It just felt natural. I didn't have my crossbow, and he looks over at Irina. I think that might do.
Yeah, no, if it comes naturally, then well done. That's something to be proud of. You're getting better every day. And
Lillison had... Sorry.
Go ahead.
Lillison had raised her hand like a couple of inches, in the midst of this all, and she just puts her hand back down towards her side and just looks over to Metreon and shuffles a few more feet away from him.
He looks at her and raises an eyebrow. Oh, are we good to go? Do we want to keep going or after it, or?
No, let's just keep going. I don't know, I'm just feeling very flammable today.
You don't feel flammable most days?
Not as such.
I feel like I should know it is pouring rain.
And to be fair, you're all flammable except for, Amity. So.
Right, yeah, that whole thing is fascinating. The infernal elements give you... Oh, that's cool. We can discuss it on the way.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything within the last hour that is critical security information.
Did you, I know you was trying to speak with these animals out here. Did you try getting in touch with any wolves?
You think I should look for wolves too?
I mean, it's good security for us at least. They're the ones that could do the most damage to us if they's around.
All right. Yeah, Amity will start cycling between wolves, bats, and rats, taking detect magic out of the cycle. So wolves will be detected every 30 minutes, and same for the other two creatures.
Okay. I'll say for the sake of expediency, the first time you finish casting the spell is not soon after the encounter with the Berserker. And you do, in fact, detect a wolf signature, let's say around a mile or so to the southwest, but it seems to be growing further away from you, not closer.
Yeah, just tell me if there's one like 100 yards away, closer. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll let you know if there's something really notable nearby. Very cool. All right. With that, you continue onward, tracing your path along the old Svalich road until you come to the Luna River Bridge and the crossroads beyond it. The faint bit of mist swirling as the raindrops poke small holes punching through the fog with each step you take. The trees sway, their branches creaking and groaning in the cold wind that blows between them as thunder booms again in the distance. Leaving the crossroads behind, you continue onward down the familiar southwestern road, vanishing between the canopies of the trees once more as their dark shadows tower above you. Another 15 minutes pass, 30, and then it's not long after that before you come to a familiar branch in the road, where a faint trail leads splitting southward away from the main path. Davian glances toward the rest of you and grunts, "Right then, if you're looking for that old haunt, it's at the end of this trail, best I know."
Well, you coming with us, right?
Of course I fucking am. I'm telling you which way to go, aren't I?
Understandable. There anything else you know about it?
He frowns and then shrugs. Not as much off the top of my head. From what I hear, some of the folk out by the old Elven encampment might know more, but as for me and mine, tend to give it a pretty wide berth if we can.
And I add to the list of things I should have asked Casimir when we had the chance. Alright, thank you.
He blinks at you, and you think you hear him mutter something along the lines of, "Who the hell is Casimir?" But he doesn't actually vocalize it, and just kind of shrugs and begins stepping down the southern path.
Yeah, we'll follow.
Okay. You follow the winding branch of the old Svalich road as it meanders up the misty forested slope of a mountain spur. It's not long, perhaps 20 minutes or so, before the forest recedes and the mists part, revealing what lies beyond. High above the river valley juts a quiet promontory upon which looms a sepulchral mansion, its turrets capped with fairy tale cones, its towers lined with sculpted battlements. A third of the structure is collapsed, as is part of the roof, but the rest appears intact. A dark octagonal tower rises above the surrounding architecture. Out of the fog comes a distant peal of thunder, quickly accompanied by the howling of wolves in the woods below, but the house stands silent, seeming like the fossilized remains of some long-dead thing smote upon the mountainside.
Well, this place looks inviting.
Lovely, actually.
Oh, it's beautiful.
What do you think them symbols mean?
Get me closer and I can give you a look, but just, can you see the architecture here, right? Like, this is out in the middle of nowhere. Like, compare it to the stuff we've been seeing out in the towns and such. Even the manors don't have anything on this. They can afford statuary. Do you know the kind of disposable income you need to have somebody carve a statue for you? Oh.
No, but I'm sure if you keep talking, you'll tell me.
He appears...
Usually between 400 and 500 gold to start.
Exactly.
Are we for a lesson on statuary, or are we going to try to get a little closer?
I mean, I'd like to
why not? Why not both?
Yeah. Earthmandir's already like 20 feet ahead.
This is what a real dragon looks like.
I don't know. I ain't never met one, I don't think.
Are we actually
Neither have
close
I.
enough to see the statue?
I would say that as you approach, Earthrendir eagerly leading the way, you can see, perched atop a 10-foot wide, 10-foot high cube of granite, is a moss-covered statue of a dragon, its wings tucked close to its body. The statue looks east, and despite how the graphic would suggest, toward the mansion. As you take a closer look, it's hard to see its features through the fog in the distance, but Amity and Earthrendir, as you get closer to inspect it more intimately, you can see that it appears to be a statue of a silver dragon of noble bearing, its spiny frill cracked and broken in many places. It looks quite imposing from its perch.
Oh, hello, darling. Oh, goodness, time's not been kind to you, but still enough to see details. Look at this thing. This is artisanship. Earth is going to... How tall is the, plinth that the statue's standing on?
The plinth itself, it's 10 foot high.
Earth looks at Amity. Can you give me a boost? I want to take a look at this thing.
Oh yeah, Amity sort of boosts him up onto the dragon's back. Or I guess onto the plinth if it's 10 feet high.
Yeah, you can scramble up. The wetness of the rain and moisture atop it makes it kind of hard to find purchase, but you manage to scrabble into a crack that's become filled with moisture and lichen, providing a bit of friction that you can use to pull yourself up with leverage onto the top.
And
Is it made of real silver up there?
Nah, looks like granite. Damn good granite, though. If you could move this thing, it'd be priceless. Well, as Lilson said, 500 to 700 gold pieces, but that's not what's important. Looks like a silver dragon? I don't know. Hard to tell if that's just the color of the stone or if that was intentional.
Lillison has also drifted closer, and she is standing near the head of the dragon, just looking up at its face. And very cautiously, she reaches out to touch whatever bit of the dragon's body is if it's 10 feet up, is closest.
There's a bit of its tail that's kind of coiled forward toward the head of the plinth facing the door, and you can kind of touch this silver-tinged bit of granite that just quietly is draped over the side.
Yeah, she's going to touch it first just with her fingertips, and then slowly put her palm flat on it, and just stand and have a moment.
So ain't none of you met a dragon before?
Is that a requirement
You've met
for
a dragon?
here?
Well, no, I ain't never meet no dragon. There was apparently one in Waterdeep at some point. Never got to meet it, but just seems like something other people might have done. I don't know. They're a thing.
Yeah, no, I can say I was never fortunate enough or unfortunate enough to run into one. They're not exactly... They're pretty private, to put it mildly.
What about you, Lil? You ever meet a dragon?
Lilson glances over towards him, and after a moment she just shrugs. I never had much occasion to leave my home.
Well, they got them stories, with princesses and towers and being guarded by dragons. I wasn't sure, but anyway, maybe we should get out of the rain.
Yeah, as fascinating as this is, Aerith will reluctantly climb back down.
As we're starting to move in, Metron will fall back a little bit towards Kiva. You got that thing ready?
Oh yeah, Kiva, before Metron even gets there, Kiva's holding the sun sword in her hand. She hasn't activated it yet, but she's ready. She's at any moment it'll happen. Probably as soon as they step inside, she will activate it, but not when they're out in the open.
Okay. You see before you flagstone steps flanked by stone railings that climb to a landing in front of a pair of tall wooden doors with rusted iron bands and knockers shaped like small dragons. Carved into the lintel above the entrance is the word Argynvostholt.
Before we go in,
Argynvostholt.
Emmy starts ritual casting Detect Magic.
Do you want to
Okay.
have people do it like quickly and we don't have to ritual it, or we can? I mean, I'm just thinking.
Yeah, I'd like to get out of the rain.
All right, yeah, she can take care of it.
Yeah. Aerith kind of looks at the others. So, you think we should knock, or...
I think knocking would be polite. If there's nobody in there to answer it, then no harm done. And if there are any hostile spirits or whatever it might be, it's not as if we're not going to be advertising our presence anyway.
You make a good point. Aerith will grab onto one of the knockers and just rap 3 times.
All right. As you ascend the stairs toward the knocker and take hold, you hear the faint grinding of stone as behind you Amity mutters the words of a ritualized detect magic spell. And as you glance over your shoulder, you see the dragon's mouth is begin to grind, hinging slightly open until you see a darkness beyond its maw. And then you hear a sound almost like an exhale, like a sigh, and a blast of cold air sweeps out from it toward you. You shiver, shuddering for a moment as you feel the frost against your skin, lowering your temperature for a moment, and then the cone of air stops. The dragon's maw begins to grind and then closes shut again.
Aerith just kind of stands stock still for a moment. Well, that was tremendously stupid of me.
Are you hurt?
No, hold on, give me a second. And he's going to run back towards the statue, clambering back onto it. He's going to take a careful look at the dragon's mouth.
What are you looking for?
Whatever mechanism just belched cold air at me.
Make an investigation check.
Aha! I have expertise in these. 25!
Is there anything that the others are doing?
Metreon looks over at Lillison when... I assume we all got blasted with that.
Anyone who climbed the stairs with Aerithrendir did.
Oh, yeah. I would have climbed in with them, so yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, a
if
couple
Lillison
steps
did that.
behind.
Yeah, so he looks over at Lillison to see how she reacted to that.
She flinched a little bit, but she's not shivering or anything like that.
But this is a frosty welcome, eh? Get it?
Doesn't really help get out of the rain either.
Yeah.
I do wonder what that was supposed to be for. If this doesn't look very much like a fortress. Did everybody who belonged in this house simply just have to put up with cold air on the backs of their necks?
Well...
Do you know... I know that dragons, they can breathe fire and stuff like that, but do some of them breathe ice? Maybe that was trying to, like... Maybe it was like a mechanism to mimic that.
Actually, yeah, what does Aerith see?
What's your investigation check?
25, I thought you heard.
Sorry, no, you cut out for a second. 25. Looking over, you don't see a mechanism of sorts. What you do see are small crystals of frost and ice that have formed around the place where the jaws parted. But even then, you could see that they're swiftly beginning to melt away. There's no hinges that you can see.
Interesting. Okay, so it's not mechanical, it's a magic trap. He pops back down. Okay, so yeah, these people dial up the estimate from rich to incredibly rich. The amount to... I imagine the magic's probably long dead by now, but that's not just a booby trap. That was supposed to kill us.
Well, I mean, if there was...
it wasn't that cold.
Well, yeah, because look at this place. Imagine this in its prime. When magic hasn't had time to fade.
So are you saying that everybody who was welcome in here just had an entirely separate entrance to go inside safely?
Either that or there's some way of deactivating the thing, which would be my guess. You kick the right shrubbery 3 times and it turns off, but I'm damned if I know how that works, and we don't need to worry about it.
Well, if they was rich enough to make this in that castle, then, hopefully they didn't take all the gold with them when they left.
I'd also prefer we keep the grave robin to an absolute minimum.
We gotta have a little fun.
Generally people tend to have fun in ways that don't involve desecrating the dead. I found a wonderful time with scrapbooking.
Alright, but if there ain't no dead bodies and there's gold, I'm taking the gold.
That I cannot argue with. Now let's...
Alright.
At this point, Amity, you do finish your spell, and you see, golly gee whiz, the statue radiates an aura of evocation magic.
How about that?
I'm stunned, shocked. Can't believe it.
Bamboozled.
Watch out, by the way, the statue is magic.
What's up,
Alright.
guys?
Watch out, by the way. I don't know if you know this already, but the statue is magic.
I genuinely cannot tell if that's sarcasm if you just weren't paying attention.
I'm cold right now.
Yeah, let's go inside. Aerith will pull the front door open.
Was it the entire statue or just the head?
Just the head, I think. Oh, Amity.
Sorry, I'm waiting for Dragon to answer that.
Sorry, what was your question?
Is the entire statue magical, or is the head?
It is the statue itself. Not the plinth, but the statue.
Cool. Relaying that along.
I wonder if the rest of it also does tricks, like, I don't know, extending its wings or something.
Tell you what, we run into anybody in here still alive, we'll ask. After we tell them this...
The form of the dragon, is it, eerily identical to the dragon, bone dragon from the dream, or is it just hey, it's a dragon? It's a dragon.
So as a point of clarification, the dragon from your dream wasn't bone, it was kind of silvery white mist. Looking at it, the form is strangely reminiscent in terms of some of the frills and the spines and the tail. It's hard to recall all those perfect details from the dream, but there is a similarity given the amorphousness of the fog that you saw in your dream.
Well, Ranger Randy, lead the way.
Please don't call me that.
No, sorry, it's Emily's birthday. I'm supposed to be nice. Efrendir, if you don't mind.
I think that's one of the first times you've said my name, my actual name. Thank you. And he will open the door.
Okay. With that, you open the door and prepare yourself to look and step inside. As you do, let me pull up the map. Okay. So, you unlock the old, time-worn doors, their creaking hinges groaning and popping with rust, and push their weight inward. Beyond, the dim gray light plunges into the shadows of a dark foyer. Do you proceed forward?
Yeah, looking around to see what we can see.
Okay.
At this point, Kiva would turn on the sun sword to help illuminate things.
All right. The sun sword flickers to life with a blazing radiance that casts a nimbus of illumination around you. As you step forward, you see that immediately this room feels like a king's tomb. A grand staircase leads up to stone balconies held aloft by stone pillars and arches. A tall, faded tapestry depicting a nobleman in silver armor hangs from an iron rod above the staircase landing. 6 sets of double doors lead from this foyer. Along the walls, displayed in marble pedestals, are 3 alabaster busts of handsome men. A 4th bust and its pedestal have been knocked over, and their shattered remains lie strewn across the mosaic floor. 2 chandeliers of wrought iron hang from the ceiling like monstrous black spiders.
We should probably clear floor by floor, right? So maybe look around down here first and then move up to the next level just to make sure we have a safe place to come back to if we need to.
Yeah, sounds about right to me.
Lillison is going to step forward a little bit and conjure her mage hand, and while she's standing in the middle of the room, just send it to test each of the doors leading out of this place. If they're not unlocked, she's not going to open them. She just wants to take a tally of which ones of them seem locked.
Okay, you step forward, muttering the incantation to cast your mage hand and summon it, and as you do, you hear something. Seeing a flicker of movement in the corner of your vision, your gaze glances upward to the upper walls of the foyer, and with that you see a great shadow with wings move across the walls and disappear. You hear a soft, bestial hiss in the darkness. The others around you hear and see the same.
Do we think that thing is maybe still here?
Lillison stops in the middle of her incantation and just calls out in Draconic, "Hello!"
Your voice echoes for a moment and then is quickly muffled by the small sheen of mist that covers the floor and the thick dust that lies everywhere. There's no forthcoming reply.
Okay. A dragon of any size couldn't navigate in here. They'd knock things over.
What if it's like a baby dragon?
Then it wouldn't make that big a shadow, would it?
So what do you think's making a shadow?
I don't know.
It's haunted.
That is what I was trying very hard not to imply, yes.
Oh, sorry. I'm a little more comfortable with spirits.
Right, yeah, of course.
Metron winces. Okay, well, if that's the case, Amity, maybe you can, you got to get the gab, especially with the dead. Maybe you can, be a buffer for us.
Kiva's gonna fall in. Sorry.
What is Kiva doing?
I was just gonna say, should we? I mean, I don't know. She's not really scared of the ghosts. She's gonna try to open this door, I think.
As Kiva's walking over towards the door, Lillison's going to resume her plan of mage hand and, start trying the doors on the other side.
Okay. Kiva, you moving toward the southern door?
Yep.
All right. Feel free to peer through. All right. You open the door, peering through to the other side, and you see rubble is strewn throughout much of this vast chamber, caused by the partial collapse of the rooms above it. On the pink marble floor, fallen chandeliers lie amid broken chairs and other furnishings. More than that, however, you see thick webs stretching from wall to wall, and moving among them are too many giant spiders to count.
Okay, not this room, not this room.
What's in there?
Fuck ton of spiders.
Ugh. We can deal with spiders, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, how many is it?
These are about as big as guys, so if you want to go in there, that's fine. I don't like bugs.
Wait, as big as what?
As big as what?
These are the biggest spiders that I've ever seen in my life.
So, like, the size of, like, what are we talking? Size of a
Size of
saucer, a
truffle
dinner
or
plate?
like
You can just take a look and decide for yourself. I'm just gonna go maybe check out the other side of the room, and the door's over there, far away from here.
Good plan. Aerith will walk over to it. I'm kind of curious. I wonder if they're a native species or something, and oh my god!
how big is they?
Aerith just shuts the door very quickly. Size of a horse. That kind of big spider?
Okay, yeah, we ain't going through there.
No. Is there any furniture in here? I'd like to bar this door.
Should we just push the pieces of that statue over and just maybe just pile it up?
Oh, good plan.
Yeah.
And Aerith makes for a makeshift barricade with alarming speed.
Lillison Mage Hand opens the door to the north from like all the way over here.
Okay, your mage hand flickers through the air and opens the northern door. Peering through, you can't see much, but there doesn't seem to be any trap that's sprung. You see just a dusty stone floor and what seems to be another door at the other end of the dark chamber. From here, you can't make out many details, though. Amity, you can make out what seems to be a cabinet of sorts or something in the corner, but you're not quite sure of its nature from this distance.
Sure. Amity walks forward, making sure that she doesn't see any giant spideys, to check out this little room.
Okay. You step forward, peering in, and you see that this wood-paneled den has been ransacked, its furnishings tossed about. A cold, dark hearth dominates the west wall between two narrow windows. Standing upright against the north wall, you see a sarcophagus made of black wood with a queen's effigy carved into its lid.
Cool. Are other people following her, or are we just sort of wandering around doing our own thing?
I'm not following anyone unless they tell me that there's no giant spiders in there.
Yeah, same.
Lillison
No spiders.
will draw a little closer.
Yeah, likewise.
Peek
As you
in.
do, Kiva and Lillison, your eyes both catch something faint in the dust beside one of the pillars facing toward the room. In the dust there, you see the imprint of a large footprint. Not humanoid, but a massive paw, easily more than twice as wide and long as one of your own feet.
Lillison stops.
Keep an eye out.
Yeah. So Lillison stops and says, Earthrendir, do you recognize this print?
Aerith steps into the room and squats down next to it. Does he?
Make a nature check.
Oh boy.
Ooh,
Natural 1. That's a 6.
Oh,
It appears to be a large paw print in the dust. That is all you note of it.
Not at all. This isn't really my area of expertise, I'm sorry to say.
Could it be the thing that casts the shadow? Maybe it can climb?
Depends. How fresh does the footprint look, Dragna?
Make a survival check.
Oh boy. 11.
11? Not incredibly old. I mean, you can't tell the exact date, but, it's, probably no older than, a week, a month, you're not sure.
Yeah, it could be. Some's been in here reasonably recently. The dust's way thicker in the rest of the room. Speaking of which, is that a coffin?
It looks like a cabinet.
Do we open it, or is that the sort of thing that might awaken? Of course, it's the sort of thing that's going to awaken something angry, but I suppose we better get it over with now.
As you think, one of them vampire things can hide out in it?
Esmeralda frowns. It may be possible, I suppose. I do not know why such a thing would be in here, but it might be worth investigating. Lillison, do you mind?
Of course. She pauses by the cold fireplace and sends her mage hand forward towards the sarcophagus.
As soon as you do, you hear the sudden sparking and crackling of embers. Whirling toward the west, you see a fire erupt in the dead hearth and assume a draconic form. It hisses, crackles, and unfurls its smoky wings. I'll need everyone to roll initiative for me, please.
Oh no.
God darn it.
What?
22.
13?
12.
Okay.
6.
Well, listen, you watch as this small, fiery dragonette erupts in the fireplace. It unfurls its wings, hissing, spitting small embers. For the moment, it's remaining in the fireplace. Is there anything you'd like to do?
Yes, Lillison would like to get away from the fireplace.
Okay.
Disengaging if she needs to, and is going to go like there.
Okay.
And then she is going to call out again in Draconic. Hello, apologies for our intrusion. Please, we did not mean any offense. And she's going to ready an action to cast. Yeah, her shoulders tense up, and she's going to ready an action to cast Ray of Sickness if this thing gets out of the fireplace.
Okay. You do so, and as you speak the words in Draconic, you see the head of the flaming small dragon whip toward you for a moment, its wings flaring around it, but it doesn't seem to lash out at you as you step away. Amity, anything that you'd like to do?
This is the vigil before the fight. We're not the enemy. We're gonna free the knights. Amity is going to use her action to explore her expanded sensorium and see if she can see any magical auras.
Okay. I would say that with your detect magic active, what you can see are... Question, how much stone can it see through?
I believe 1 foot of stone.
Gotcha. In that case, I would say that the most notable thing that you can see is that the dragon appears to be some sort of evocation magic conjured within the fireplace. Or at least it gives that sort of aura to it. You're not sure if it is a spell of sorts, but it has a certain nimbus of the arcane to it.
Yeah, she'll tell her it's some like evocation magic or spell. Does that mean it's a creature or a spell? I don't know. She's gonna back up.
All right. Irina glances over Metrion's shoulder. We're not trying to hurt you, whatever you are. We're just looking for help. Davian grunts and you watch as he steps forward and pulls out his crossbow. Erthrin, do anything from you?
He draws his short sword. If that's evocation, then that's usually destruction. And then kind of realization hits. Oh, shit! And he runs for the corner of the room. Get away from it! And that's his turn.
Okay. Esmeralda will draw a rapier and look wary. Ismark drawing a sword and stepping forward. Metron, anything from you?
Hearing that from Randy, Metron is going to use his bonus action to disengage, and he's going to then. Can I use my bonus action to disengage and then ready an action?
Yes, you certainly can.
Okay, so yeah, he'll ready an Eldritch Blast just in case.
Okay. With that, your turn comes to an end. And as it does, there's a pause for a moment, and then the small fiery dragon speaks, hissing as it addresses you. My knights have fallen into darkness. Save them if you can. Show them the light they have lost. And with that, the fire burns out. The fireplace dark and cold once more.
What the hell was that?
A message.
Well, I gathered, but was it a ghost? Was it like some kind of magic
If
thing?
it's explicitly magical, it should have shown up as something else, so I don't think it'd be a traditional ghost. But I don't know.
What knights are we supposed to save?
Amdy, wait. Your dream.
Yeah, it said to free some knights. I don't remember everything. That there's some fight that would never be won or lost.
Huh. And a dragon telling us to free their... This is bizarre. But it didn't seem harmful, at least. So, I think your idea of haunted house is seeming more and more accurate.
It's too bad I already did a seance, because otherwise I could try to, do a seance for the big dragon.
That would have been real smart, but we'll do what we can with what we can.
Metreon, if you fired up the fireplace again, do you think something would happen?
No, but I'm not sure if I want to find out.
Cabinet.
Yeah, what's in there?
Reluctantly tearing her gaze away from the fireplace, Lillison is going to stand back and use her mage hand on the cabinet.
Okay. You open it and you watch as the front face slowly creaks open, revealing what appears to be the shelves of a wine cabinet, holding shattered wine glasses and decanters.
Metron
Otherwise,
sighs.
its contents seem largely innocent.
Oh, that is impressively macabre. You have big ol' sarcophagus converted to a wine. That's either a war trophy and horrible taste, or a very good joke. Possibly both.
I think it's probably symbolic, yes.
We drink and thus we die. Or we drink, or I don't know. But that's... So folks lived here. I mean, obviously, but a lot of folks by that many glasses.
Esmeralda steps forward, surveilling the sarcophagus, and then she seems to notice something on the floor to the right of it. Hang on a second, what's this? And she crouches down in the corner.
What you find there?
It's interesting. There's these scratches along the floor. They seem to almost form a bit of a curve to them. It's almost as if she reaches up along the mortared stone walls of searching for something, and then you hear something click beneath her palm as part of the wall slowly slides very faintly open, as if by a door.
Oh, well, look at that. Do we see what's inside, or?
You can. Peering over Esmeralda's shoulder, you see in the chamber beyond 5 barrels lying in wooden braces along the walls of this dark, moldy storage room. Emblazoned on each barrel's side are the words, "The Wizard of Wines," and the name, Champagne de l'Estompe.
Are they intact barrels or?
The barrels are largely intact, yes. They are somewhat moldy in places, but they have not been broken or shattered.
Aerith pulls the bottle out of his pack, the one he got from the abbot, and compares the labels.
They appear very similar, and in fact, as Davian looks over your shoulder, he snorts, "Now that's a name I haven't seen in a long time. Where did you get that one, son?"
Basement of the old abbey up in Kresk. Do you... Oh, of course, you run the damn Wizard of Wine. What do you know about it?
If you're talking about that particular vintage, the Champagne de l'Estompe isn't something that we've seen in a number of years. Went out of production a while ago. He shrugs, but you get the strong sense that this is not something he really wants to talk about.
Aerith will let the matter drop, instead kind of rapping on the cask with his knuckles.
Well,
Lilith?
I figure if we make it out of this, we wheel those back to Blue Water and we re-up, yeah?
Davian shakes his head. "I don't think you're going to have any bloody luck there, lad." And he knocks on the side of it, and it just sounds hollow. And as he does, you also hear... You smell like a very faint, like acrid vinegary stench coming from the side of it. These are old. They are... we got ourselves a bit of a log book. Or at least we had one before the damn place went down in splinters. But it don't hold no record of any of these. Whenever they were brought here, it was long before our family took over the winery.
Wait, took over? I always thought it was a family venture, like going back a while.
Oh, aye. But Markov wasn't always the last name of the family. For us, well, a branch of the Kruskovs owned it, operated it at the main family's behest. Before that, well, I don't know, but the legends say that, Wizard of Wines ain't exactly a bit of a thematic choice.
Oh, that's
Who knows, maybe these
fascinating.
barrels were delivered in that mage's day, whenever she built the place the first time.
Aerith is kind of enraptured by this, but eventually he will step back out.
He kind of shrugs and knocks on the barrel again. Shoddy workmanship, though. Whatever she was capable of, her barrel-making craft was not up there.
Well, I'm impressed it's still here after evidently a long while, but I take your point.
He grunts and just kind of regards them quietly for a moment. But he seems like he'll follow along if you move.
Yeah.
Lillison stands stock still, just staring as Erthanir comes back out of the room. And then she says, "The wagon tracks. The paw print. Erthanir, did that look like a tiger print?"
A tiger? I have no idea, but I've never seen one. I don't know what their claws look like.
You've seen one.
We've seen one.
Do we think
Right.
here?
But you think Van Richten might be here?
That doesn't
I
make
think so.
sense. Why would there just be one paw print in the middle of a back room? And, well, if he is here, then it'll be nice to meet him again. We can compare notes, see if he'll actually plan with us. But I don't see how... How would it even get in here without leaving further tracks?
Perhaps we... Lillison sort of cranes her neck and looks around. Perhaps we've already messed up the other tracks with us walking through the dust.
Fair point. Suppose we can't know except by exploring more. Speaking of which, is that a door Erthandir standing by?
It is, yes.
Aerith is going to slowly and experimentally crack it open.
Metron's going to stand back.
As soon as you do, you see on the opposite side tattered velvet drapes covering tall, slender windows that encircle the parlor, the furnishings covered with dust and cobwebs and lying in disarray. A damaged brass chandelier hangs from the ceiling, which is covered with a faded mural that depicts metallic dragons and colorful birds flying beneath white clouds. And yes, curled up at the center of it all, just off to the northeastern side of the room, just beneath one of the windows covered in tattered curtains, a large, very familiar saber-toothed tiger.
What?
Which immediately looks up toward you, its gaze snapping towards your face and a low growl beginning to emit from the depths of its throat.
There is an embarrassing noise out of Earthrimdir, and he slams the door shut. Okay. You know what? Fuck logic. Logic isn't helping anybody. Yes, you're correct. That's a tiger.
Wilson
Why
looks pleased for a moment, and then she's like, at least it's not a spider.
That's not that much comfort at the moment.
You hear the sound of a door opening and then closing on the opposite side of the door.
Was it his tiger?
I don't know of many others.
Well, then he's got to be here then. We got a friend inside, right? Let's go find him.
If you want to deal with that, be my guest.
I mean, the tiger was fine with me.
Yeah, Aerith will tentatively crack the door again.
You do, and peering through, you see crouched beside the tire what appears to be an elderly male Vistani in colorful but slightly muted clothing, greens and blues and reds. And then you see his gaze appear to lock on the cracked door. Who is there? Come out.
Hello.
The two of you step inside, and then the Vistana snorts. Ah, yes. I had thought that I might have heard you. And you watch as the Vistana's figure ripples, then melting away like rain, before being replaced by the familiar visage of Dr. Rudolph Van Richten.
Oh, that makes a lot more sense. Hello, Doctor. Y'all, it's alright. It's a friend.
Good to see you again, Rudy.
And you as well. Davian and the others begin making their way inside. It is a bit of an unexpected surprise to see you here, my friends. What might have brought you to this forsaken corner? Barovia, eh? He blinks over your shoulder and sees Esmeralda stepping forward. Ah, good. It would seem that you have brought quite the party to this old mansion.
Well, we was looking for something.
Well, now, there is not much yet to be looked for, but perhaps you might have found some things that I have not. There are things here, make no mistake.
And
Please, if you would not mind, come in, have a seat against the walls. I cannot offer much, but perhaps we can have a civilized conversation. Yes?
Kiva will turn off the sun sword once she gets into the room, but not think that maybe Van Richten would want to see it.
He gives you an interested look at the kind of, as he notices the radiant light vanishing, but doesn't make any comment toward it. So then, to what specifically might I owe the pleasure if you feel comfortable in sharing such things?
we mentioned before that, or did we? Man, time's getting... We're looking after a prophecy. Parts of which that have come true, parts of which that haven't, and parts of the description might match some we could find here. Or, alternately, we've heard enough tales about this place's inhabitants and, well, about... We figured it would be prudent to check this place out.
He nods. Interesting and a fair assumption. It does seem that the old place might have its secrets. I have found this much in my time here. I am perhaps grateful, perhaps, that they have not taken too much interest in me in turn. Though perhaps that may be that I have confined myself largely to this chamber, aside from some ventures to other sections of the manor, only briefly.
What have you found?
What?
Well, I have found that this manor is most assuredly haunted, not only by spirits or the spirit of, well, as the statue might suggest, something a little more draconic, but also corporeal undead that I have noticed in these some of these darkened chambers. I have noticed 3 in the rear chapel alone, but I have thus far dared not approach them. So these kinds of creatures can be touchy when they are approached in their hallowed ground. Thus far I have had no reason to. From the motions and the sounds that I have heard in the nights, there may be others on the upper floors, but I have not ventured there yet. So it remains to be seen. I have little need to venture beyond my little corner for the moment, but perhaps you shall find more value in doing so.
What magic does Amity detect?
Good question. Looking over him, you see a strong illusion. Sorry, a strong. Actually, you just flat out see. Actually, yes, you see a strong shimmering of illusion magic atop his head, in the shape of a hat of sorts. Though strangely enough, no hat is visible. Beyond that, you don't notice. Actually, let me check something real quick.
He had like a ring. Sorry to. bring this
Yes.
in.
You do not see any ring on his fingers, no. You just
Huh.
see that shimmer of the hat upon his forehead, the hat that he's not actually wearing.
Cool. Yeah, Amity's gonna sort of like hold up one hand to her mouth and mouth like, "You've got an invisible hat."
He blinks and then chuckles. Well, that is... you have a keen eye, young woman. It is not an invisible hat of sorts, but it is one that I have found to be quite useful in my endeavors.
What does it do?
He smiles. Well, that would be telling, wouldn't it? Invisible hats, that everyone knows are invisible hats, are no fun, don't you think?
All right. Well, okay. I mean, we also figured out this place was haunted by a dragon.
Okay, so, Amity, you were saying?
But we didn't see any corporeal undead. Should we like watch out for them? Oh, were they like knights in plate armor with swords that have little pictures of dragons on them?
He looks to you frowning. That is very specific. I cannot say that I can confirm such things, but perhaps it would fit the motif. I have not gotten close enough to get a good look myself, but it may be that what you propose is somewhere in this, small fortress.
Lillison gives Van Richten a close look as she steps into the room, and she says, "What is it that you came here seeking?"
He looks toward you, raising his eyebrows. Well, not anything in particular. You must understand that when I am in the midst of my work, it is very important, my dear, that discretion be taken at all times. You must understand that I do not mistrust you or bear you ill will, but, well, one can never be too prudent when ensuring that a vampire's spies cannot find you. One can never be too cautious in the face of such a creature.
Naturally. It's just, if it was a danger you sought, well, we would appreciate some forewarning before we are all eaten by a skeletal dragon or something. And if it was information you sought, well, we have come across a number of very, very curious things over the past few days, which, who knows if some of them might be pertinent for you.
Just real quick, Dr. Rudy. You said you was trying to keep a low profile with certain spies. Have you found that they don't come here?
He shrugs. Well, that is one thing. I have done my best to keep a low profile and, well, keep to certain images. Regardless, Ramesses usually tends to be quite skilled in ensuring that, well, those that lurk in the woods become dinner. But beyond that, it would seem that some of the devil's spies do occasionally give this place a bit of a wider berth. So I cannot imagine why they do not seem to stay away entirely, but I imagine that it is one of many perhaps forgotten places scattered amongst Zarovich's domain, in which case I imagine that, well, he would have no strong reason to occupy such places so fiercely. But I am intrigued. What have you found? I am always grateful for the opportunity to learn from those as myself.
Well, given the amount of discretion one must show when one is either hunting or being hunted by creatures of the night, Lillison sort of glances over her shoulder at Kiva with a little shrug, and she says, I will leave it up to you.
Kiva will she will give a look back to Lillison, and then she'll activate the Sun Sword and walk a little bit closer to Van Richten to see if he reacts in any meaningful way.
All right, so you're activating the Sun Sword. As soon as he sees it, Van Richten's eyes widen, not in a sense of looking horrified or intimidated, but looking rather impressed at the sight of it. Now that, if I would not be mistaken, seems to be... Well, have you truly found a true-to-life sunblade, my dear?
It would appear so, yes.
Now that is a masterful find for what you are aiming to accomplish. I would caution you, however, to stow it swiftly, in case other eyes may be watching. It is, however, a kingly weapon, and should serve you quite well in your own goals.
Well, unfortunately, I think some other eyes might already know that I have it, and she'll give a sort of meaningful look back at Lillison. But it has come in handy so far, and she will stow it though, and dim it back again. The poor guy's getting like all these hints that he might be used, and then gets put away.
Van Richten nods. Velsen, if you have come to find secrets in this manor in your own endeavors, I do not doubt that the sort of mansion, ransacked as it may be, might provide some sort of clue. I would only suggest that you exercise some form of caution as you make your way through its halls and corridors. Yes?
Of course. Do you have any more information on these corporeally undead that you mentioned, or just whispers?
He frowns. I am unsure of their exact nature. I have not had the opportunity to observe closely. But the way that they have observed them thus far, they appear to patient, perhaps to be some form of mindless zombie. Neither ghoul nor wight, I think. Their true nature I have begun to suspect, but I have far too little evidence to properly indicate one way or another. And besides, my business here is not with them, so unless they bother me, I will do my best to ensure that I do not bother them.
Reasonable, I suppose. Well, in that case, I'm glad you still seem to be well and alive, and I suppose we'll be getting on with our side of things.
One moment, good doctor. I fully appreciate that you are under no obligation to reveal anything to us, but And she sort of nods over towards Kiva. In the spirit of a friendly exchange of information, I do have one question that perhaps you might be able to shed light upon.
He inclines his head toward you. By all means, you are welcome to ask.
It is, technically speaking, not my question. And she looks over towards Esmeralda and she says, I believe a few nights ago you mentioned you had a question.
Esmeralda swallows as Van Richten's eyes wander curiously over toward her. Esmeralda nods and steps forward. Thank you, Lillison. She meets Van Richten's eyes. I found the page from your journal, the ones that you tried to burn. The one about Erasmus, the Lich, and the Vistani. I want to know if it's true, and if so, I want to know how. You owe me that much. Van Richten meets her eyes. Well, that is a surprise. But tell me, my dear, do you truly want to know? Some truths are heavy to bear, and you do not need to bear this one. Esmeralda clenches her fist and then nods. With a soft sigh, Van Richten turns toward the tiger and places a hand on its furry shoulder. Very well, then. I would presume that you have brought the document in question with you. Esmeralda nods and reaches into her pocket and, unfurling it, takes out a scorched-looking bit of parchment. I did. And I want to know the truth of it. He nods, looking deadly serious. Sent by all means. He spreads his hands around him. If I am right in what you have told me, you have no secrets from your friends here. So by all means, my dear, let us hear what you have found. And that is where we will end it for today.
Ooh,
Drama.
Yeesh. Right in time. Good lord.
I'm just going to say, even though I know nobody's going to believe me, I did not actually realize that that was the question she wanted to ask him. I was just like, hey, this little roleplay thing happened a couple episodes ago. Let's
bring
pull
that
on
back.
that thread.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah, I've had that one, and I've had that one tucked away for a while.
Oh boy. You're out of convenient exits, Mr. Van Richten. You cannot get out of this one.
We are literally blocking every physical and metaphorical exit from this room.
Oh yeah. He knows it.
Oh god.
He also has a giant tiger, though, so, you know.
It's still a 9 on 2.
True.
Oh yeah, is the tiger, like, hissing at Lillison?
Just
It is certainly hissing at Esmeralda. It seems to be more prioritized on her than you. The why you can't imagine.
Okay.
Rules as
Yikes.
written, kids.
Love it, gang.
Yikes!
Love it.
Oh my god.
All right. Well,
On
in
that
any
note.
case, I think that's all we got for this week. So thank you to everyone for joining us today. We will see you all back in the mists next week. So until then, free the shackled souls and take care.